know, there's a million fine-looking women in the world, dude, but they don't all bring you the Neon Crew podcast at work. Most of them just cheat on you.
Is that Kevin Smith?
That is Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
You know, pretty prolific moment in that movie. Kind of character-defining in a way, or character-define, you know.
His type?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His namesake.
Yes.
Silent Bob?
Yeah.
Silent Bob ain't so silent.
Yeah.
It turns out. I'm going to turn myself down a little bit.
Okay.
So we're going to, we're all good.
I'm
We're kind of
self-conscious after hearing that. I'm like, can you hear me breathing?
I can always hear you breathing, but I think that's just the nature of our relationship.
Okay.
Is that I just hear you breathing.
I'll do this. Maybe that won't get, okay.
Well, if you do that, then
I'll come back in when I'm talking.
Yeah, they'll barely hear you.
I got it. I got it.
Breathe off mic, talk in mic. Max just passed out on the floor. Returning to form from vacation, getting back into the swing of things. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 119 of the Neon Crew podcast. My name is Kyle.
I'm Mac.
And speaking of listening to us, you get to hear us talk about Clerks. My movie recommendation.
We're hopping into it.
I think we're just hopping into it.
Okay, let's hop.
Yeah. So we're switching it up a bit. We're doing the film recommendation first before we talk about the other film, which, you know, is related. It's not a new movie that will be following this discussion. It'll be tied to the director, Kevin Smith. I'm sure you've seen it if you've already clicked on this episode. But we're going to just swing and get Clerks, my recommendation, out of the way. This is what I put on the skillet here for us to cook and talk about. It's a 1994 American independent black and white comedy film. A lot of adjectives there.
Glad you didn't stop at black.
Directed and written by Kevin Smith. And stars Brian O'Halloran as Dante Hicks, the cashier at a convenience store, and Jeff Anderson as Randall Graves, the cashier at a video store. And the two buildings are connected, and Dante is basically called into work on his day off. He's supposed to play hockey, but alas, retail pulls you in its black tendrils, its shadowy tendrils. And it kind of just showcases his dealings with his relationships, his friend that he works alongside with, just the strangers that come and go into the environment. And familiar faces, hijinks ensue. Spoiler alerts for the movie Clerks.
Yes.
We talked about before how Kevin Smith is a figure that is pretty prolific in filmmaking. And me personally, I knew of him long before I had seen any of his movies. Like, this is the first time I've seen any of his work. I think my first kind of introduction to him was AMC had a TV show. This was around the time when Walking Dead and Breaking Bad were, like, you know, dominating cable. He had this show on AMC called Comic Book Men. This was when AMC was greenlighting so many different shows, because now all of a sudden they have like this pretty diverse traffic of people coming in, not just like old people watching like Western reruns or whatever.
Yep.
So they greenlit this show, and I remember it was basically like each episode was a pop culture subject, specifically with like comic books or superheroes or whatever, like Marvel, DC, like in Watchmen, whatever. And I feel like that was my very first introduction to him, was like him wearing the hockey jersey, his signature hockey jersey, and talking about nerdy ass shit. And then it was like the floodgates sort of opened from that point on, of like, oh, this guy is just like in the pop culture zeitgeist all the time, because he, I think, is someone who is very opinionated, and classically because of that, he's just like someone that people turn to. He's also watched a shit ton of movies, read a shit ton of comic books. Like, he's got such an extensive knowledge of those two things as art forms, where, no matter what's being discussed, eventually I think Kevin Smith will like come in and get his fingers on it, like whether or not it's podcasts you listen to or TV shows that you watch or, whatever. He's just kind of there. He's just a guy that's been there and has been there for a long time.
This is wild. Oh, there we go.
What are you looking at?
I'm trying to pull up his movies that he's directed.
Yeah.
Like you talked about, like when he got introduced. So I'm sitting there, and it would not allow me to find movies that he's directed. But I figured out how to filter.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a big time win.
Yeah, because he's also an actor. He pops up in things. He'll play like a supporting role or whatever.
Yeah.
So like it's sort of harder to get a gauge of like, oh yeah, this is like his creative voice versus like, oh, he's just taking a part.
Do you think he's like one of the guys that because of his notoriety through fandom has gained his access into Hollywood? Or
I think it's certainly helped him.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's like if someone's working on a project and they think to themselves, oh, Kevin Smith has like voiced his thoughts on this thing.
Yeah.
And has clearly like antiquated himself as being like a fan of this specific project, then I feel like a lot of people would just kind of easily lean into like, oh, let's get him in on here. Either as like a writer or an actor, like, someone who can like easily throw their voice in there because like to them, it's probably coming from an authentic place. The way Kevin Smith talks about this stuff, you can tell that there's like genuine love and care behind it.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking more so in the lines of like the guy that did Iron Lung, like YouTube.
Markiplier.
Yeah, we got a lot of people that are doing like they got the Facebook Reels, social media. They're getting notoriety through the people that see them. So now that's when Hollywood comes in and they'll plug him into something. He was around way before social media.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he somehow like inserted himself into the zeitgeist of Hollywood, if he's like one of the first through fandom or through people gaining traction from hearing about him, because like he was starting all this up before Facebook, any of that stuff took off. I don't know how many people of his ilk have gotten into Hollywood from caring about other aspects of entertainment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think I'd be able to pull someone off the top of my head.
There's like no one with that level of like tangential trajectory.
Yeah.
When it comes to their own career.
Right. Like right now, like that, like we talked about Markiplier, having the YouTube site, raising the money, getting a lot of notoriety from people having seen him through videos, right? But Kevin Smith was doing this before that even took off, and there's a very, I don't know if I didn't read anything about how Clerks, like he put it together on a shoestring budget, decided that he was going to direct and make it, get his thoughts out, and the thing took off.
Yeah, I read that he was originally supposed to be Randall, but he found that writing, directing, and editing the thing was already pretty exhaustive. So naturally, he created a character for himself that had very little to do, but you know what? Had a screen presence nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't go the scanners route, writing it on the fly.
Yeah, that would be crazy. There's a lot to talk about with Clerks. Do you want to get into the meat and potatoes of the movie itself?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, so this is Kevin Smith's first movie. He created it at a budget of, I want to say $27,000.
Yes.
Somewhere around there.
Yep, 27.
It's inspired by the actual store that he used to work at.
Filmed it at the store.
He used to work at. And I think Brian O'Halloran was a local actor who signed on when he saw like a casting call for Dante or something like that.
Yeah, good for him.
Or they didn't really like have an idea of like what character he would play, but I think Kevin Smith saw him and was like, "You're Dante," and yeah, I don't know, it kind of snowballed from there. So, I mean, I watched this movie in Florida. I just came back from a trip and watched it in my Airbnb room. So that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah, this being an older movie, I wasn't really too worried about.
Did you take a time out from like hanging out with everyone, or is this like a late night?
This was like before
everyone's...
bed, like everyone else is sleeping.
Yeah.
This is a 90-minute film, so I might as well throw this on.
Little Kyle time.
Yeah, we're sleeping in anyway, so it's no pressure.
Yeah.
Really setting the mood. I like that you asked that. And it was also raining outside too, so very cozy vibes.
When you throw these things on, you got to know what you're dealing with. Like
Yes.
Infinity Pool, watching it at 11 a.m. on a summer day, didn't kind of helped out with a little bit of what was going on, but like also didn't.
Yeah.
But there are times, you get it as long as you're not skipping out on activities, and
No.
3 p.m. on a
I'm certainly
on a
not
Tuesday on
sacrificing
vacation.
island time for for fucking Clerks. But no, I think it was the prime viewing experience environment for me, and I throw this on. I'm not worried about like the visual fidelity of it. I know that it's like a low budget, like basically indie.
It's a good timestamp movie for the 90s.
Good timestamp movie, and it was one of those films where by the end of it, I was impressed as to where it ended up, as to how I felt about the film overall, my viewing experience of it. I was telling you off mic that about 30 to 45 minutes in, I was thinking to myself, am I going to like this thing? Is this just going to like completely bounce off me?
Yeah.
And it didn't. And, we'll talk about it, but there's a lot that I appreciate about this film with just like how it's almost like how I felt watching Cold in July, where the first like half of that movie, I was like, I don't think this is it, Mac. This ain't the one.
Yeah.
And by the second half, I was like, okay, I'm not bored.
Yep.
I'm paying attention.
Yep.
I'm interested in what the characters are doing, the things that they're saying. And it's really kind of coming together. This feels like a film that comes together at the end despite a lot of shaky elements to it.
Yes. Yeah, the first time I saw this thing, I was in college. And I shouldn't say the first time I saw it. The first time I put it on, I got, same thing, probably 20, 30 minutes into this thing. Like, Randall just gets introduced, and I started dozing off, like passed out. The quality of the film with the kind of the grainy element, the black and white, it's very... it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's slow-paced, high vibes, if that makes sense. And I remember passing out, and I saw 20, 30 minutes. And like when you recommended it, I was thinking like, all right, like, well, I'll make sure I'm watching it attentive. I'll be into it as best I can. And it's actually funny. I threw it on, and my daughter decided she had to take her nap. So as soon as she fell asleep on me, threw it on. So it put her to sleep. But yeah, I think it's a good timestamp 90s movie. If you probably had a collection of 90s films that you were going to show a time traveler, I think this might be one of them that you throw on there, kind of capturing some of the early humor that was going on, a little bit more a change in direction, if you will, from the 80s humor, where it's all screaming scat jokes, even though this had its ample, definitely a different taste with some of the sophomoric humor in this. But
something like the SNL movies or like Animal House, where those films were just concerned with how wacky and out there can we be. This felt like something that was a result of like this Gen X attitude of like, all right, we got to make something that's just like not totally a shit for brains like goofball romp.
Yeah, farcical, right?
Yeah.
Like where it feels like almost like a vignette, or you're stitching together all these scenes to get your final outcome. This did have some elements of that, but it's more of a linear storyline, and it's more coherent than those types of films.
And it's grounded to the degree that I think relatability is like this movie's biggest strength.
Oh my God. Yeah,
dude. And how it like kind of fosters that, because you brought up movies, specifically comedies of like the 80s, and like how sort of loudmouth and slapstick they were. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that movies, you would watch them for this sense of escape, this like idea of we're going to watch characters and people in situations that are so ridiculous and out there that it can only be possible on the screen. And obviously, like, there's ridiculous and out there stuff that happens in this movie, but
it's grounded in a sense of reality.
It's grounded in a sense of reality that, like, a lot of us have lived in.
Yeah.
You know, you and I worked at Sam's Club, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we have had many days where we get called into work. It's supposed to be our day off. We've had plans, but, like, fuck it. The boss is calling.
Yep.
And we just go in and, like, do our job begrudgingly. But we're still there. We still made the choice to go in and have to deal with these fucking people. Dealing with the public is, guess what? Not that fun. And this movie touches on that to a degree that's, like, a little bit exaggerative. You know, there's, like, some really, like, out there and, like, you know, funny things that happen for the sake of character building and plot building, but it's also just so recognizable.
Yeah, they're to the both extremes, right? Like, it's one where it's way too much people pleasing, and the other one where it's way too much like you're a person, not a customer. To which it's more it's relatable in the sense of, like, oh, if I were to up the degree that much, that's what I'd probably aspire to, or what would happen. Yeah, right.
And, like, the characters and how they approach those is almost like I watching this movie. I told Megan, I feel like I'm both of these guys at the same time.
Oh yeah, same here.
Where I am both Dante, who is, like, trying his best to hold the fort down and, like, please everybody that comes in, but just is, like, failing at whatever attempt I'm doing. And then also I'm Randall, where, like, I just want to tell these people, like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Go into the corner and
you have
starve
to prove
yourself
you're right.
to death. Yeah.
Excuse me?
You have to prove.
Do you think that you're only doing this to prove your point?
Like, he's such a shithead, but he's almost not doing it to be malicious. He's just doing it because, like, yeah, this is the relationship I have with you right now. Well, you're not a customer, you're a person.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they do talk about it, like, towards kind of the end, you know, where he's kind of having Dante address his fears, or like why he talks to the customers the way he does. And he essentially, you know, establishes this is a business, this is for sales, but I don't have to treat these people as if I want them to come back. I don't own the store, right? Like, this is our interaction right now. I'm not going to view it any differently than if I did it on the streets. Now, his sensibilities are way misaligned, probably with what the owner's looking for, or even what you would think a normal clerk would do. But at the same token, it's funny to see that world, because, you know, I think the furthest I ever got was just like me looking at someone going, like, I don't know what to tell you. You know, like, yeah. But you definitely, that interaction of someone like, hey, like, you have an item in the back here, and it's like, we don't, you know. And then it's, what do you want? What are you going to get out of this? The sense of satisfaction that you ultimately feel that you're, you know, right about this, or I'm lying to you.
When I was working at, you're going to get some Kyle lore in this episode, probably some Mac lore too. When I was working at local grocery store, a smaller one before I worked at Sam's Club. I'm not gonna, like, name drop them. Yeah. But I worked in the dairy section, and at the end caps we had stuff that wasn't expired, but it was, like, close to date, that we would lower the prices of, so that hopefully, we can, like, still get a sale out of it, even if we're losing money. Food's not being wasted. Right. And this guy would come in and he'd look at the stuff and he'd look at me and he would try to haggle with me the price of the stuff that was already fairly discounted.
He's bartering with you?
He's, like, bartering with me on, like, 25 cents of, like, this yogurt that's going to expire in 4 days. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, why do you care so much? I make $9 an hour. Like, there's nothing in this for me. Yeah. Like, do you think I'm doing this for the love of the game? Like, that's not it, pal. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to, like, hopefully pay for the books that I'm going to school for. Like, that's all, man. And I would obviously, like, I wouldn't go out of my way to be rude to the customers, but, like, I've heard so many times, I'm never coming back here again. And it's like, as if I'm supposed to feel bad about the fact that they are never going to return and I don't have to fucking deal with them anymore. That must have been something that Kevin Smith has experienced multiple times in his personal life.
He
and
worked
just, like,
at that grocery store. I mean,
because he has, like, he puts, like, 4 or 5 lines of, like, people in this movie saying, I'm never coming back here again. You just lost a customer. And it's like, all right, cool. I don't have to fucking deal with you. Bye.
Yeah, it's the sentiment, of, well, go tell the owner that, like, don't tell me that. I get paid a fixed amount here. Whether you come and buy something or you don't, I'm getting paid for my labor. I'm not getting paid to satisfy this interaction.
Yeah.
And
I think that's something that this movie really gets right, and is like one of my favorite aspects of it is like, yeah, we have all like felt the pain of working in this environment, or even if like nobody has, like if they're in a different industry and they haven't had to do this sort of thing, this is like a decent way of showing at least exaggeratively like what people have to deal with in these environments.
It'd be a real world perspective on how the people behind the counter feel.
Yes.
Like, and I for some reason I'll go places with my wife, and we'll be walking around, and she'll be like, "Well, should we talk to someone and see if it?" And I always just I go, "No, like I don't think I care enough." And if it is something that we desperately need, I will go ask. But I will. This will be an unpassioned, "Hey, is it back there?" Or can you look again? And it's so funny to me that, like, could you imagine being like working at Sam's Club and then like 15 years later being the person that, on the other side talking to you? Like that's, like it, and some people don't have that. I don't know if it's just from not having done like blue collar work or working a wage job, but it just fascinates me sometimes that like you sit there and those people, they'll cringe with you when they see something. And then they're the ones the next day going like, "Hey, can you knock it down 25 cents?" Like,
well, it's just like the sense of entitlement. And that's the biggest thing that I think this movie, without like verbalizing it, acknowledges.
Yes.
Of like, people come in and they think that they can treat workers however they want. And
right.
it's one of those things where like, okay, you clearly, it's not just like a this place thing that you have this attitude. Like I'm willing to bet that you are like this outside of this environment. It's just that I am getting the distilled version of you, because you're not even giving me like the whole facade of being nice or polite. You're just cutting straight to the bullshit of like, I know you have more in the back.
Yeah.
I saw it, and I'm like, okay, we don't, but I'll go check again.
Yep.
Why not? I need to get my steps in anyway. So yeah, I don't know. In terms of like those types of things, this movie has aged pretty well. Something that I don't think has aged quite well, or in my opinion, some of the performances, some of the line deliveries, some of the like,
it's so amateurish.
It's a very amateur film. And
So amateurish.
I think that if anything is going to hold people back from fully enjoying this, kind of like it did me, and I'm thinking that
Same.
it did for you as well, is the fact that, this feels like a student film.
It's a very unpolished first attempt at directing. I think what happened with it was that the material, the script was very good. It hit a lot of nails in terms of what they're talking about, the events that are going on. But when it comes to like dealing with the actors and the filming of it, this will be in about 15. It could be actually right now. It's because I'm kind of old. We're kind of old. This is like 30 years old. A hipster movie.
This movie came out the same year I was born.
Yeah, like this is I would say a very hipster movie in terms of like when you're in high school. I bet you high schoolers right now that are getting into film might be like, hey, like you want to see something funny, let's watch Clerks. Like this will blow your mind. And I think there that that artistic style, a different kind of lens, someone that unapologetically filming it, putting on tape, getting it out to the masses, right? Like you have to appreciate that. But like in terms of watching a more polished movie, this thing it held me back, and it's
and I think the biggest thing, at least for me when I was watching it, was it felt like the dialogue delivery couldn't match up with what the script called for.
No, it was very much one note type line, like
which I think it feels like Kevin Smith's attempt at like this sort of rat-a-tat, like zany back and forth between the characters, and like how there needs to be like a flow there.
Yes.
And it feels like a lot of the acting ability just doesn't meet up with that in terms of like establishing a flow, because sometimes it feels like they'll trip over their own words, or like they'll have to like kind of deliver the line in a way that's like, okay, maybe this isn't what you like completely envisioned. And it's really difficult, I would imagine, to be an actor in that setting and have these long pieces of dialogue with like just this static shot, because this movie doesn't cut very much. There's like a lot of instances where it's just 2 characters or 3 characters talking to each other without like cutting away. And so you have to imagine that like a lot of these people that I assume were like pretty amateur performers at the time, were struggling a little bit with it. And you can definitely feel it when watching this film.
Yeah. I wanted to see if Kevin, he went to Vancouver Film School for 4 months.
Okay, makes sense with the Canada presence in the next film we'll talk about.
Yes, and the reason why I wanted to ask or look it up is that directing isn't necessarily, it's not editing, it's not the pacing, right? That's all done behind the works. It's bringing out your actors.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely, in terms of him shooting it, very amateurish, right? It feels very handheld. There's a lot of it's probably all handheld if I had to guess. I don't know if there's any like dolly shots or anything.
I feel like there's some kind of moments of still shots.
Yeah.
Like the opening when he's in his apartment and he gets the call. Mm-hmm. He's just like laying in his closet,
Yeah, you set that up on a tripod, right?
Yeah.
I'm more so just thinking about him being a director and pulling it out of the actors. And what he had with this is a great script, an idea, a vision of how he wanted it to look, but then it struggles with that, the presence of, hey, let's slow it down, or we'll speed it up, or we got to get a little bit more, like everyone just kind of felt like it felt like high school acting. Like you feel like it's a lot of people trying to capture an emotion without actually harnessing like what it is that they're saying. Like Randall, all of his lines that he delivers, he's so punchy and aggressive, but it feels in the sense of like, like a, and maybe it's what he's going for, but like a buddy talking to a buddy about snapping him out of something, but like that doesn't happen all the time. Like that, not every line needs to be that way,
Yeah, it's like Randall is supposed to be this character that has this laid back cadence and this like no care in the world attitude, but the way he delivers lines, it's like he has to do it as fast and as succinctly as possible with like this one tone.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's all fucked up.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, we have to start over. And I'm wondering if that was just the choice to do it for most everybody, because most of the cast, at least the main cast, seems to talk like that, save for Brian O'Halloran, because I feel like it's easier for them to just like, all right, if we establish this sort of dialogue language of this is the way we're going to speak all the lines, then we don't have to have like these super mixed up instances of like different tones or like, different pacing. And so it almost feels like Kevin Smith's attitude towards this was like, we got what we need. So we're just going to move on from that. Like we technically met the base of where we need to go.
I will also say too, one of the things you got to talk about with production is they shot this on 28 straight days.
Yeah.
From 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. is I think what I read. So you're not working with a lot of reshoots. You're not working with a lot of like, hey, I got to get this guy out of his trailer.
I imagine a limited budget doesn't leave a lot of room for like doing another take or whatever.
Yeah. So it's just dealing with people that haven't acted before, right? And, and it does go to the credit of the film for being as good as it is with what you're working with. But it's also, it can be a constraint. Both can be true.
Yeah.
Right.
I think one of the bigger strengths of this movie is, I think, the script overall, and just despite the hangups and the hiccups I think that this movie clearly has, especially given the time that it's, been since, we're talking about it, I think it is to its benefit that it like still works.
Yes. Yeah.
Despite all that stuff, it still gets through at the end of it, and you're more or less impressed with what you've seen. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it really is the type of, it kind of it feels like I don't know Kevin Smith. That's why I feel weird saying it, but it feels like on the button for him, Like you talk about kind of where he's at. It's a little nerdy, everything's kind of put together. I've learned a lot about, all this stuff going on. I'm going to put it into how I would do this. So it doesn't feel as if
a big production company came in and stripped it out of his hands, right? Like it feels very to him what he wanted to achieve. And I think that his sense of humor and the way that he has an outlook on the world, this is a good representation of that.
Yes. A view askew, some would say.
So I mean, like that, and that's why I think you get into some of it. And I keep saying it, but it feels very hipster, but also kind of nerdy, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like it's. I mean, there's a whole piece of dialogue where they talk extensively about Return of the Jedi.
Loved it,
and how
there's such a great conversation to have in a store. I will bring that up one day.
And I really enjoy, even if I didn't like totally love all the like writing decisions in those moments, I really liked the idea of like bringing the customers into the conversation and like having them like dance the same dance that they're doing as far as dialogue, like reacting to something, whether it's like the guy with the eggs or like the Star Wars conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels dynamic that way while still like getting to a point.
Oh, in a small town area, I'm sure that there's been plenty of times where you're talking about like a football game or baseball game or the concert, whatever it is, right? And someone they want to express their opinion too, and
yeah,
it felt very genuine in that sense with that guy coming in and speaking his own mind, also offering up the perspective that neither of them had.
Yeah,
which is what I liked about this thing too, is a lot of the time that there's dialogue going on between the two characters and posing a scenario or situation that neither of them really know about, but kind of going back and forth with their thoughts on it, and then inserting the third party that knows or has an idea to offer the piece of wisdom or advice that you'd say like, oh, okay, that probably changed both their perspectives on the matter. Or maybe it solidified one being right, one being wrong.
Obviously, a big part of this movie's theme is, being honest with who you are as a person and like how you deal with those things in a way that like doesn't compromise who you are or like what you value. And obviously Dante, the main character, that's like his whole arc is like coming to that realization of like I'm living my life on a tightrope where I don't want to fall one way or the other, and if I just stay on this tightrope, then I'll be fine and nothing can hurt me, when him staying on the tightrope is what's causing his pain in the first place.
Yeah.
I think to me that was probably like the most resonant part of this movie on a personal level, because I feel like I've been there multiple times of like, waiting in this level of existence that feels either meandering or like, just kind of like going through the motions and not really wanting to like risk anything one way or another. And so just being happy with the status quo.
Yep.
And Randall very much is like the fun foil to that of like, I might be watching hermaphroditic porn, but at least I'm honest about what I'm doing. And so I don't know, it's like a ridiculous juxtaposition that way, but it's still fun, and it creates this level of intrigue when it comes to like how they talk about each other.
It provides some introspection.
Yeah,
which is a lot.
It's like a simplified, script. It's simplified storytelling, but I'm not going to knock it for how effective it is, because it is effective.
Yeah, I think what happens with today's day and age now, and that's why I say too, like some high school kids that are partaking in film or expanding their horizons, like will appreciate this, because this movie does offer a lot of self-reflection or introspection on the end. If you're saying I am Dante, or if I'm Randall right now, or if I'm just watching these two, how am I reacting to what it is they are doing? I think with what we have going on now, there's so much social media and the availability to see other people's successes or failures, or with the economy, the way it's up and down and all that stuff, like it's so easy to escape and then place blame. As with if like you just want to have like a really like shut the door, watch these two talk it out, and then think about like your own life, it provides a really great way to kind of sit there and identify with both of them. And then in certain scenarios, like, oh, would I be like that, or would I be like this, and I think they're both to the extremes. I would say that Dante would be like your dependent variable, and then Randall's like the independent variable, right? Like Dante's like baseline. It's not necessarily an extreme. It's what a lot of people probably can see or know of, like those failures or the fear of going one way or another, taking a chance, if you will. Whereas Randall doesn't really care because he's honest with himself. That you can kind of identify with, like, oh, I would definitely do that, or no, that's a little too crazy for me. But yeah, I think that this movie, it does provide, it's a little bit more, and I guess that's probably where it is aided with the amateurism, is that it provides a little bit more of some intimacy with like the experience that you're going with the characters and where they're at too, because it is a small town. They are at a grocery store. Yeah,
I think that definitely is a factor that like only helps it.
Yes,
is the tangibility of how, like you said, with the amateur filmmaking, it just feels like I'm watching people that I know.
Yeah,
I'm watching people that I recognize, at least, like maybe not literally, but like in some form or another. I've seen a version of this reality.
Yeah, and that's I say timestamp because like obviously we have social media now and we have everything. Everyone can see what everyone's doing, right? And this time it's small town. You only know the events from what someone else tells you, right? Or like you're only seeing what's happening if you see it. It's not like you're going out to get the paper. But in reality, if you close the phone or you shut the TV off and you do go outside, like you're in that environment still, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and that's why I think it still holds up, is like these tropes or these archetypes or however you want to view these characters are still present in today's day and age. And that's where it's grounded in that sense of reality with the humor that's going on. And those thoughts or the conversations that are being had while creative do pop up organically.
This movie was kind of ahead of its time, talking about body count back in 1994.
They've probably been talking body count since like the 20s.
I mean, it wasn't quite put in the way that I think this movie touches on, where it's like the idea of like these relationships that he has and like what makes a person valuable, or like what gives them value in the relationship versus like what they've done in the past, and like that shouldn't define who they are. And
what was the theory that they popped up, or they said something like, it was very interesting. It was the gave 36 guys blowjobs, you're 37, right? And he gets pissed about it. And she says, you don't know any of these guys. Like it's whatever. I mean, to you, I can't remember the theory that they brought up or what it gets attached to, because she almost like proves him wrong, like right in the moment. And he says, nah, fuck that. Like it's still 36. Where he's like, yeah, I agree, but still, And there's a bunch of kind of conversations like that get brought up that like unfortunately now too is just like you could turn on YouTube and someone's talking about that, right?
Yeah, there's not such like a niche aspect to that anymore,
right?
The same way that there used to be.
Yeah,
where like this movie is bringing up things that now, like you said, you would find in like your YouTube recommended or like your reels through Instagram, where some guys on the street asking girls like, how many guys have you like fingered their butthole?
Yeah.
28? Like, can I be 29? Like, just stupid shit like that, where it's like, okay, the luster of what makes these conversations meaningful may no longer exist in the same way.
And you got to transfer, like when you're watching it, I was trying to be like, all right, like I'm going back to like 2003, right before we had all this stuff. Is this engrossing? And actually, I think it probably would be, but now it just seems sophomoric. You know, I think that's some of the issue I had with some of the conversations too, where it's like we're hanging on this element a little too long.
Well, I think Kevin Smith is a very, I think he would admit it himself, a very sophomoric individual when it comes to some of the subject matters that he talks about, or like how he jokes around. I think the Jay and Silent Bob characters specifically are like that distilled.
Oh yeah, yes.
And I was going to ask you what your thoughts on those two gentlemen were, those two characters, because they eventually get their own movies. They like pop up in a lot of his other films. I think they're in Mallrats. I think they're in Dogma, or something like that. And they're a running thing throughout his View Askew universe.
So is Jason Mewes? Is he Jay?
Yes.
Okay, so they got linked up at the Vancouver Film School. Oh, no, it's Scott Mosier.
Yeah, Scott Mosier's the producer.
Yeah, where did I see? I thought Jason Mewes got. They must have had some sort of success with Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes being friends.
He was working towards a career as a roofer.
Jason Mewes?
Yes.
Oh wow. So they must have hit it off or something.
He just happened to be friends with Kevin Smith.
Oh, so like kind of just buddies from school or like in high school or middle school or something like they've had a long-term friendship.
Yeah. So I want to read this paragraph.
Okay.
His best friend was future filmmaker Kevin Smith, who described Mewes this way. Jason's the kind of dude you know for 5 minutes and he whips his cock out. I was like, somebody should put this dude in a movie. I just wanted to see if anybody outside our group of friends finds him as funny as I do.
Right. Okay.
So literally like, hey, I like you. You've got an interesting vibe. Let's put you in this movie.
Yeah, that's what I was. That makes sense. Because I'm with you. It's kind of like, how do these guys... So... I will tell you, like, my first introduction with Kevin Smith was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2004, so 14, kind of like at the cusp of like raunchy R-rated film, but I'm not 17. You know, we got a buddy that's his brother was like a senior in high school, so he rented it for us, and I don't remember any of the film, you know, and it was supposed to be like, oh, these two guys are in everything. They're so funny, you know, and I remember watching it and I was like, yeah, I guess, you know, and it's kind of like one of those films where I'm like, am I going to go back to? But that it's so much more polished than Clerks. But, you know, smash cut now, I'm watching Clerks and I'm like, all right, they have to be a big presence in this film. Dude, you watch Clerks. There's no way you're going like those two are going to get their own franchise or they'll be in everything.
Oh,
right?
yeah. What I loved about Clerks was Jay and Silent Bob,
Yeah.
dude. They were fucking killing it.
Like they felt it was like a piece of the puzzle. Like every time they popped up, I was like, all right,
They're a
like,
piece
I'm
of
gonna laugh,
tapestry.
but it's not
Yeah.
like, oh my God, can you believe where are they at? I want to see them again.
They're
You
a
know?
smaller part of like the greater tapestry of this movie, but it feels like their legacy is beyond like what this movie actually has to offer.
So that's why I wanted it. That's why I was curious about their relationship, because I know that there are times where someone's like, no, I just like working with that guy, so he's gonna be in what I film, what I direct, or if I'm acting, like I'm getting him in there. You know, it's like a Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth, right?
I think from what little I know about his personal life, I think these movies are pretty much the only things that he does.
Yes. From what I saw.
He has a podcast with Kevin Smith because this was Kevin Smith's sort of way of keeping him sober from, years of like narcotics use and drug abuse and alcohol or whatever. And I read that, seems like he's been sober since 2010.
Good.
So good on him. Keep it up, Jason Mewes. But yeah, this is kind of the lane he's in. Sort of the same with the guy who plays Randall, Jeff Anderson. Yeah. I read that he basically lives in like a retirement community and he was like the youngest guy to get a house there or something like that. So like, yeah, these guys are just like, yeah, this is like the lane that they're most comfortable in. And I think that it seems, as far as what I could tell from watching this movie, seems like the lane that they most belong in. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, not saying that like, oh, these guys shouldn't be in other movies, but it's like they know their limitations and it seems like they have their niche.
If you had a great character actor that was in 100 films for 5 minutes, like they might just really enjoy like, hey, I'll show up, we'll shoot for a day and I'm good. Collect my check, I'll live comfortably. I don't have to get pulled into Hollywood stories, and yeah, and maybe these guys, they all probably have the same sense of humor, which Kevin Smith's sense of humor is just—it's insane. It's so zany, right? Like you kind of wonder how you get a guy that directs Tusk and also likes to talk about Superman versus Batman.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, were we like Jay and Silent Bob in Clerks? Are we within that realm? Or was I forget because we just went on a whole tangent?
No. I was thinking about how it seems like Jason Mewes playing that character doesn't feel like it would be that different from him in real life. Like, just sort of capitalizing on the things that like make him unique and entertaining, to say the least.
Dude, when he goes, I had some good chuckles in this thing. I don't think of this as like laugh out loud. This is very
and like some of it feels very like overtly juvenile, like with his Russian cousin where he keeps going berserker, suck my cock, berserker. It's like, okay, this is It's silly and it's stupid, but it's like, it's whatever. It's building off of the environment, and I like when he writes "I eat cocks" on the glass door, and Randall opens it up, and it's just like holding on there for like a couple seconds too long.
He goes into the convenience store to go buy something, and like he's talking to Dante, and it is literally like 5 different trains of thought going from like, oh man, you got to do this, you got to do that, to calling him like a fat and sucking dick. I was like, how does this guy just escalate this from 0 to 100?
Yeah,
and with it feeling so natural.
Yeah, it's fascinating how like you can tell there's like an undercurrent of like almost too much authenticity there.
Yeah.
Of like, is this kind of how you're actually like if I were to meet you?
That's I think everyone in the film, the only person I was like, I don't know how this guy got the role, but this feels like they saw him on the street and just went, yeah, you fit Jay pretty good.
Yeah, we're just gonna have you dance in front of a boombox for 3 minutes worth of footage. We'll splice it in. Obviously, it won't be like one long take, but do your thing. And did you know about the lasagna line before you saw this movie? Because I did, admittedly. When Silent Bob is no longer silent, and he says that to Dante. When he says,
no, because I think
not all girls will bring you lasagna. Most of them will cheat on you or whatever.
Yeah, no, I didn't. This movie is so foreign to me until I watched it. I did not, but like I'm pretty sure in all of like the movies, like Silent Bob says a line that everyone's like, oh. Or it's supposed to be like that, like old sage, I've got a lot of wisdom and advice, and I'm just going to distill it into this 1-2 sentences.
It's like when the silent monk finally speaks.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I appreciated the line because it's like it helps with the gravity of the moment. What he's saying, because he's never talked, it's obviously of importance, right? And it does provide the character with some help, so like however you want to view that as kind of being like a trope, or an archetype, like I thought it worked well.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like, it's very kind of like plain faced implemented, but
yes.
A lot of things in this movie are pretty plain faced implemented.
Yeah. And I'm not going to knock it. I mean, as long as it aids the story and it doesn't feel too ham fisted. Like boy, they just shoehorned that in there. I'm fine with it, and and knowing that it's Kevin Smith's first film and he's got that going on too, it made it a little bit more charming.
Yeah, this film has charm. This film has an authenticity with its amateurness, but naturally, just some things that keep me from probably rewatching this.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. Yeah,
there's not enough humor in this thing or thought-provoking instances. Now, you want to pull some snippets or like, hey, I'll watch that scene again. I could see that. You know, I do think too that this film is, I guess this is what I call it, hipster too. It's like it was irony before irony existed.
There's 100%.
So many of these like moments where it's not gotcha journalism, but like. You're being led into this one thing and it sweeps you off your feet, right? So there's a little bit of juxtaposition, or something they bring it up and then it ends up happening, but to the 10th degree, right? And I don't think we had a whole lot of that in the late 80s, early 90s, and I think that's probably where it aided the sense of humor at that time, which I think makes it a little bit more forward facing or future leaning than it does for being of the time. But it's kind of the same thing too, because it's so fresh or a new kind of sense of humor. It makes it's a little bit more dry.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of a more kind of edgy version of the sentiment that was brought by like Office Space or Idiocracy, like Mike Judge stuff.
Yes.
Where, okay, we're taking like this Generation X sentiment and just kind of like putting some alcohol in there.
Yeah.
Putting some beer in there. A little bit of drugs in there. Some marijuana.
Yeah.
Was there anything else we wanted to say about Clerks before we move on to the next film?
Honestly, I don't think so.
I think I'm good if you are.
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. Let's get into ratings. You go first.
I do go first. Okay. Yeah, so I'm kind of going off of, like I said, I'm viewing films, or at least trying to, in the sense of, like, would I pick more films over this one or not? Can't say that about Clerks. There is a subtle appreciation that I have for the film. I do like how it's grounded in reality best you can within this like limited environment. I thought the script was really well written, wrote.
Yeah, well written.
Yeah, and like the performances from the characters they give you a sense of a feel of like your buddies are filming a movie, right? Which there is some charm to that. There is some a little bit of whimsy, right? It's amateurish, but like at the end of the day, I think the humor's dry or it's outdated. The way that the film it looks, it's hard to really pull me in. It's not polished at all. And, it's, how long is that? An hour 30, hour 40?
It's like 94 minutes.
Yeah.
92 minutes.
I'm not going to lie.
Letterboxd.
I think at 55 minutes, I paused it just to see how much time was left.
Mm-hmm. It does. You do feel kind of the pacing of it.
Yeah, which maybe I don't think it is intentional. I would say, given the movie itself, I think that it could be brilliantly done if you that was your aim. But I think this is just from a first time director directing first time actors. So I have this as a 7 out of 10. Pretty solid. I don't think that this is going above anything, below anything. If I had a movie selection, I'm looking for other films to put on.
Movies above replacement.
Yeah, movies above replacement. Honestly, though, if Preston were ever to get into like films and he was like 16, 17 and was trying to get like, hey, like what really speaks out of being kind of like individual or show, like having that identity, for a film, and be like, check this one out.
Yeah. I can absolutely see that. I'm in the same sort of ballpark as you. Watching this, I think was illuminating. I think there's a lot that I can take away from this and appreciate, especially considering that this is Kevin Smith's first movie, that he has had a long and storied career, not just in terms of being a filmmaker, but just someone whose voice is so resonant in the pop culture space. And I think that there's a lot that I can take away from this movie of value, but at the same time, I'm not eager to rewatch this. I don't think that I think that the performances are what is mostly holding this back from being, in my opinion, a good film. I think it's a good movie, but in terms of like how much it's going to stay with me, the shakiness of that is sort of keeping me at arm's length from it. So for me, this is a 6 out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, the rewatchability piece is like what holds this thing up.
Do you have any interest in seeing the sequels at all? Or like the Jay and Silent Bob movies?
I'm having a hard time. We'll talk about it in Tusk, what I think about Kevin Smith's humor. Because it's polarizing to me. And in that regard. And I think that Tusk is like the evidence of kind of how I feel about a sense of humor. So, no, I don't. I looked at Jay and Silent Bob and I remember being like, and it's so hard too. Like you throw on, like I want to see Dogma. I think that's one, right?
Yes.
And that's a farce. Like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I don't think I really have a care to see it. And the problem is too, like if you go from Clerks to Jay and Silent Bob, like it's totally, it feels like a different person directing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think his most different movie is Cop Out? Because that's the only one that he didn't write the script for.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. The one with Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, I haven't. That is one. I don't know if it's I think it's on my watch list. So he didn't write it, but he directed it.
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah.
Not in a huge hurry to check that out, if I'm being real.
No, I mean, the only one that I really have, I've seen Mallrats, and that's got Jason
Lee
in it. Yeah, I've seen that. I heard Chasing Amy is good.
I've heard it's good. Yeah.
And it's just one of those things though too, where I think that he's a little bit. I think in his head he has a hard time getting out from his head. He gets it onto paper, but getting it onto the screen, I think he struggles with, or at least his vision of what he's seeing cracks him way up more up than what it does for the audience.
Oh, and I think we're going to get a real good sense of that in our Tusk
Yeah.
conversation. But yeah, he strikes me as someone whose general perception, at least in like the eyes of people who watch a lot of movies, are like, yeah, this guy, I wouldn't say I love anything he's done, but he's got a very strong presence in terms of like his opinions on things and just like the way he carries himself. Seems like a guy you could just hang with, and I think that's a huge part of the appeal of him.
Yes.
So with that being said, speaking of Kevin Smith,
Okay.
he directed this next movie we'll be talking about called Tusk.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Here we go. Tusk, 2014 film, written and directed by Kevin Smith. And I think he actually gave producer credits to the guy that wrote the Gumtree post.
Yes.
Christopher Parkinson, I believe.
I believe you're right.
Yeah. So, and we'll talk about that.
Yes.
But Tusk 2014 film written and directed by Kevin Smith, starring Justin Long as Wallace Brighton, Michael Parks as Howard Howe, Haley Joel Osment, I think, kind of reprising himself in this role. I don't know if he'd been around a whole lot before this. The Sixth Sense, and then it was kind of like a hiatus, or just couldn't get work. Genesis Rodriguez as Ali Leon, and then a whole bunch of just character actors. And should I drop the guy?
Yeah, just drop him.
Point?
Just drop him right in front of the table right here.
Johnny Depp, which threw me off when I looked at the IMDb page before I threw Tusk on.
It took me way too long to figure out that it was him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think mostly because, like, mild spoilers for my thoughts. I was kind of checked out at that point, so I was sort of just drifting off, and I was like, wait a minute. I know this fucking guy.
So
this is Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. Which also is like, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Polarizing. So the movie kicks off. We get some podcast stuff going, and it's part of the Not-See Party, NOTSEE.
Really funny.
Yeah, very very humorous, ironic. These guys are, they do the crude humor stuff where they're going to find a viral video and they're going to talk about it and they can't believe it. And the first thing that pops up is the Kill Bill kid who's got a katana and he's wielding it. And like already I'm like, oh, something's going to happen. I thought he was going to slice his head off or something. No, only his leg. Right. And these guys are going, whoa, can you believe it? And Wallace, played by Justin Long, sets up a interview with the Kill Bill kid, to gain, he's going to latch on, he's going to hit the coattails of this guy getting viral and really get more viewers to the site. And so he's going to Canada. And, kind of during this time, we find out, if you can't already tell, not a great guy, kind of like an arrogant prick. Really, he shows his colors as he's going around. He shows up to the house, and there you can tell that something's going on, and it looks like a funeral. And he's trying to find out, like, he knows, but he wants to just confirm, which is one of those other things too, just not being really respectful. And gets out there, the kid, unfortunately committed suicide, just couldn't live with whatever was going on. And Wallace decides he's going to go to a bar. He's pissed off. He's calling the kid selfish and arrogant, and he's like, he couldn't have waited. And it's just a lot of not great stuff. And he goes to take a leak at the bar before he's going, and he finds a post about this guy, Howard Howe, telling him, hey, or anyone that's looking, if you want to hear about my adventures and you want to hear my stories and all the stuff that I've gone through, come out, give me a call, come out to my house, and I will tell you about all the things that I've seen in life. And he thinks that's a great idea. He wants to go hear about this guy's adventures. He wants to hear about this guy's life tale. He's going to get it on the podcast for God knows what reason. And gets out there and gets some tea, and things go awry as Howard Howe is not the man he presented himself to be. So spoilers for Tusk.
Spoilers for Tusk. This was a movie we watched. You kind of threw this out as an alternative to Clerks. So admittedly, this is kind of my this is the result of sort of what was going on with me, because I went on vacation. I was in Florida. I was in the Keys, getting sunburnt to shit. But you know what? It was worth it. Woohoo, melanoma. So I texted Mac and I said, my options are pretty limited. I don't think I'm going to make my way to a theater. So any new release either has to be like a streaming thing, or we could talk about another Kevin Smith movie. And you threw out Tusk. Yeah. Now, what was it about Tusk that you just kind of threw the name into the ring?
So I will say it was, I think it was between Tusk and Chasing Amy or Dogma. Because those are like I said, the Kevin Smith films that I'm not like, hey, I need to seek this out, you know, and because of the podcast, there are times where I'm like, you know what, like, let's find a movie we haven't seen. We're both fresh set of eyes on it. We'll have our opinions on it, and I don't have any pre-existing notion on it. And so, you know, I was like, all right, let me read Chasing Amy real quick. Let me read Tusk. And the first thing that popped up with Tusk is Arrogant Podcaster. So I said, Hey, pod on pod. All right.
This sounds like Kyle.
Yeah, no, it was more
Arrogant podcaster with a mustache.
No, it was more so of like, hey, like, I didn't realize he was a podcaster. So, you know, in truth, I've seen, and I was telling Kyle this, I'd seen an hour 15 to an hour 35, right? Like, I caught 20 minutes towards the end.
Kind of like part of the third act.
Yes, and so that's my only recollection of it. And I remember at the time, this was supposed to be like there was a lot of body horror movies kind of coming out around that time, like you know, Bone Tomahawk, Tusk. There was
Human Centipede, I think, was the same year.
Yeah, or close to it.
Close to it. A Human Centipede, I think, was older,
a little, because
I remember seeing Tosh.0 talk about that when I was in high school.
Yeah, and Kevin Smith talks about it on the origins of Tusk, kind of what he was going for, what he thought was funny, and so you know, I was like, you know what, like, let's rip the Band-Aid, let's watch it. I think I'll be able to view this in a new lens, and it's probably I'm a little bit more desensitized for what I'm about to see, because some of the graphics in here are just like startling. And especially like, think about me just walking down the stairs, like, hey, what are you guys watching? And sitting down, and it shows, you know, Michael Parks going, eat walrus, and then it shows, you know, Justin Long as a walrus. It's like, what the fuck? Like, Jesus Christ, you know. And then it's all of a sudden, it's like anxiety hits you, and you're like, oh my God, what if, you know?
What if you were turned into a walrus?
Which is like one of the unfortunate things with this, because I think, you know, with any movie, you're placing yourself into this scenario, and that's why horror films do so well. It's like, well, all that stuff does well, because you are, while the characters are doing what they're doing, think about your own actions, right? So that's what makes it startling with this. But that's where it gets into the Kevin Smith. It's very interesting to hear the perspective of if you were just to watch these events through a window, as opposed to being in the situation, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, is that funny? Is there anything funny with it? So that's why I recommended it. I was like, let's talk about it, and I thought it would have some meat on the bone for us to discuss, because there's a whole bunch of shit in here, and
some blubber on the bone.
Yeah. So that's why we brought it up.
Yeah, so I was aware of this film before you had brought it up. I knew its status as like, oh, this is the movie in which a man is turned into a walrus against his will. And funny enough, and I'll bring this up now, this was one of the movies that when Megan and I were first dating, she had mentioned that she had seen this before.
Humble brag.
And it was like, if it was one of those movies that when she was in high school was thrown on as sort of like a sleepover dare film. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, let's throw on Tusk and see how much we can stand to watch.
See, that's part of the notoriety that I'm talking about with the thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like that
100%.
Right.
And so it was interesting that she had seen it and that I had not. And that when I asked her, hey, I got to watch this for the podcast. Do you want to watch it with me? And she was like, I'm good. And I looked at her rating on Letterboxd, and she gave it a 0.5 star.
Yep.
The lowest rating that you can give a film. And this was after years and years and years of having not rewatched it. Probably never will. And so I was like, I feel like this movie's maybe going to hit me a certain type of way that I won't like. And movie starts, and it's a lot of the stuff that I kind of expected. Like, okay, Justin Long's in it. He's being painted as like the asshole, unsympathetic protagonist. So like we're gonna be grown to like, we'll get on board with him being turned into a walrus or like tormented in some way.
Right.
And the main thing that I was like, oh, is there like a little bit of promise here, was the Michael Parks performance with Justin Long, where he's like kind of mocking him, and like there's this cadence that shifts from like him being sophisticated old wheelchair bound man to, oh, this is like an insane person who's like lost his mind but like systematically does this thing. And I'm like, okay, there's like maybe some intrigue here, there's something to be invested in.
Right.
And it was funny because this came about from a podcast episode that Kevin Smith himself did called Smodcast, right?
Yeah.
And it was episode 259, I feel like, which I tried looking up the entirety of on Spotify. I think it's paywalled now for some reason. Or
you
like
gotta make money.
Yeah, make that money. 100,000 in ads alone last year. And so God, if only, man, if fucking only.
Oh, dude, there was a lot of like, do I have to do that?
Yeah.
Like,
do I have to turn into a walrus?
Yeah, I want old Wallace. I don't like new Wallace. I was like, well. Gas keeps going up.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Don't even mention it.
Yeah.
I had to deal with that today. But anyway, I'm watching this movie, I go to listen to this podcast, and I'm like, okay, I found the moment in which they talk about it on YouTube. So I pull it up while I'm driving, and you basically realize, oh, Kevin Smith basically conceptualizes this whole movie during that conversation.
Yes.
And the way he's talking about it is like, this is fairly one-to-one with what happens. Like, he has a lot of ideas that are just the movie. Like, this is what we have seen. And what I found the most interesting while listening to that conversation that he has with his producing partner, Scott Mosier, is he brings up or I think Scott's the one who brings up, and then we cut to, the outside world where like maybe there's other people and like they have to deal with it like in another way. And Kevin Smith's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to like cut to like the outside. I want us to be in it. I want us to like never cut away from this. And I found that very interesting, considering the fact that this movie does exactly the opposite of what he brought up in that podcast conversation.
So we both listened to it, right? Mm-hmm. And you probably were like me, where you're like, all right, there's not enough meat on the bone here for just that. So it's like I think one of the issues I had with this film is there's a lot of shoehorned, limited characters, right? Like, we're not like a huge cast.
Yeah.
And
maybe like 6 major players. Yeah, Justin Long, you got Howard Howe, you've got Haley Joel Osment, his podcast co-host, you've got his girlfriend, and then you've got Guy Lapointe.
Yeah.
So that's 5 characters right there, and that's pretty much the extent of like, oh, this is what we're dealing with.
And literally 3 of them feel shoehorned.
Yeah, shoehorned and underserved. Like,
I don't even know if underserved. Like, I don't think he had the passion to write them in, but they had to get this thing to X amount. Like,
it felt like an excuse to build some sense of depth with Justin Long's character and like his relationships.
Yeah. But like, why?
Just to like show, well, like, I guess to show that he's like still an asshole. Like he's
that's what I'm saying.
He's always this way. With like,
it serves as a reminder to his arrogance.
Yeah, and I think that when characters exist solely for that purpose, it's pretty uninteresting and repetitive.
Yes.
And when you've got that in juxtaposition with like some of the more interesting things happening with Justin Long is being turned into a walrus.
Yeah.
Anytime it like cuts away from that, I'm like, kind of want to just Take me
Let's
back
go
to the
back to
fucking
the
walrus.
house.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if this movie has to be like 50 minutes long. Just have me live in that space and don't break it up the way it is, because it just fundamentally loses what little momentum it was carrying.
And I think that's what the disservice was, and it feels shot that way too.
Yeah, it feels like Kevin Smith shot this without having the care to like implement it properly, or like really like make it feel like it matters. And it doesn't feel like it matters at all. It felt like he did not give a shit about that specific portion. It felt like a means to an end, but the means were like way more of what they needed to be.
Well, and he wanted to have the ending that he had with the arc of the walrus, right? And this is where I talk about like a little bit with his with the sense of humor, because like I laughed in this movie. Like, it was like a dark comedy to me. You know, it wasn't.
Very much so. Yeah.
You know, and it's like horror elements, and it's kind of like it's this juggling act, right? Between we're trying to scare you, but also like this is rather humorous if you think about it this way. But on the podcast with him talking about the movie, I was laughing harder with him describing it and what it was going for, and some of the realization than the movie itself. You know, and I think one of the things that really bugged me is if Johnny Depp isn't in this film, does it lose anything?
No.
He serves no point whatsoever in this film.
This movie, I would argue, is dragged down because of him.
Yes.
So I was already kind of, I had told you off mic, I was already sort of checked out by the time it got around to Haley Joel Osment and Genesis Rodriguez, Allie and Teddy are looking for Wallace.
Yep.
And they're in Canada and they're going around, they're talking to police, whatever. I'm like, I really do not care about what these people are doing. Maybe they'll find him, maybe they won't, whatever.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter to me. And then it gets to Johnny Depp. Cuts to him in the restaurant and he's like smashing this burger and he's talking to them in this like French Canadian accent.
Yeah.
He plays Guy Lapointe, former inspector. And I was, one, it took me a while to figure out that was Johnny Depp. I'm like, oh, that's Johnny Depp. Two, his performance is taking me out of this so fucking much.
Yeah,
this is asking way too much of a movie that's like already got such a ridiculous and over the top premise that it's like, how did you manage to make a character that makes me hate this movie even more? Like I'm already like losing it, and then he just comes on and it just feels like it's kicking me in the face. Like, Jesus Christ. And that segment goes on for so fucking long.
It's so I was doing reading the trivia on it. Like the movie, like I was engrossed the whole time. Because I think I had, you know, I was laughing a little bit more. There was a little bit more of you know, like what were we going for with this kind of curiosity, and read that it was on a podcast, and they said that during the end credits, like halfway through the end credits, there's a snippet of Kevin Smith doing like a segment, you know, like probably 2-3 minutes talking about the film. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go on Netflix, and fucking piece of shit Netflix. I started it up because the movie ends, and I guess when you get to the credits, if you hit like exit, right, it just says you watched the whole film. So I was hoping that I'd go back in there. No. So 3 different times I go back in there trying to get to the end credits. It kicks the commercial and then it kicks me out of the app. 3 different times. However, I'm thinking about Johnny Depp and I'm like, I don't know what purpose he served for this script, for the storyline at all. Like he literally accomplishes nothing.
You could remove his character entirely and it wouldn't matter.
No.
I guess the main thing of value he does is he like does the fucking Big Lebowski thing where he scratches the pad of paper and gets the address.
Figure out a different way.
But like you could have easily had either Haley Joel Osment or Genesis Rodriguez do that same thing.
Yeah.
And it like easily have Teddy spout out the line of like, oh, they did that. I'm pretty sure he is the one who has the line.
He says they did that in the Big Lebowski.
They did that in the Big Lebowski.
That's how I knew how to do it.
There's no reason for him not to do that. So then you just take a big chunk of this. Like I feel like his segment is like 15 minutes.
Well, I was going to tell you, I because I went through it. It's a slow. They hold in on Johnny Depp, and he has, I think, like an 8-minute monologue about going through and he's repeating shit. And I'm like, is this in the script? Because this all feels ad-libbed.
It feels ad-libbed, and it feels like we're just circular dialogue.
He did. He ad-libbed all of his lines.
And it's crazy how... this is a thing that I've noticed with Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
I feel like he is... We talk about indulgent filmmakers, and it feels like because he has such a strong voice in the movies that he makes, for the most part, save for Cop Out probably, and he has such control over like the budget and the creative decisions and like what just gets thrown in there, it feels like sort of a George Lucas thing of we don't know when to tell you to rein things back, or like he doesn't quite know how to rein things back on his own. There's like a lack of limitation there. Even though the budget's already small, he still has such a powerful voice of like, yeah, I can get away with doing this. Why not? Whatever. Like there's a very kind of flippant attitude, I feel like, when I was listening to the podcast episode about how he would like approach a movie, or like, why wouldn't I do this? Or like, I can just do this, whatever, blah, 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 especially if we keep the budget tight. And it's like, okay, I appreciate the fact that you feel so confident about this, but this confidence can easily lead to just like biting off more than you can chew.
I'll say,
and the audience suffers because of it.
I think it's the other way, that he's doesn't know how to rein in his actors, and the reason he
he just let JD run wild.
If you look it up, he improvised 90% of his lines.
Mm-hmm.
So that already tells me that he didn't want to go off the script. And it also allows creative liberties, so you don't have to get into arguments with the actor about whatever liberties are taken, right? So if I'm an actor and I say, well, I'm going to do it this way, there's two things. One, if I'm the director, I go, if that's not in the script, I want you to think about the scenario and the situation that you're in. Or two, that sounds great, keep it up, right? It's all about how he wants to approach it. And from what we saw in Clerks, he doesn't have that je ne sais quoi to deal with these actors, and that's why, like, Justin Long, maybe he is egotistical and crazy and out there and all that, but he doesn't strike me as someone that's butting heads with the director as much as a Johnny Depp would butt heads. And what kind of helps me, not to confirm it, but helps the argument too, is he struggled with Bruce Willis on the set of Cop Out. Mm-hmm. That's another A-list actor. So it tells me that he might not have that backbone to tell the guy to get the fuck off the set if he's not doing what he's asked to do, So, and it could be both. I mean, I'm not saying it's not flippant. He might be self-indulgent and saying like everything I do is funny. I don't know. The way that Johnny Depp was taking this on, I was like, one, agent doesn't feel like he knew the movie that Johnny Depp was signing up for.
No, it feels completely different.
Right. And two, like, this doesn't feel like the director's really honing him in, because in a movie that's kind of a little dark and ominous and kind of mysterious, and it's a little horror-y,
Yeah, and there's some dark comedy to it, but like,
well, Johnny Depp just feels totally. It doesn't feel like he's in the right film.
It's too much.
Yeah.
It's way too much, and it drags the whole movie down to an otherwise like just completely dead territory. Like it was already losing me, man. It was already like, okay, I'm like, not, this is not one I'm gonna want to think about too much after I get done watching this. And then Johnny Depp pops in and I'm like, this just cements it. This just puts the stamp on it for me.
And what sucks is he had the bones from the podcast to make this thing. And it just cracks me up, like how, I think way too over the top with trying to make Justin Long like unsympathetic, right? Like, we didn't need to have all the reminders. We didn't have to be the arrogant douche. Now, you're not going to have anything in there thrown in for sympathy, but like everything he's doing is like totally unlikable, to the sense that like when we're getting into, so we should say this too. The way that they talk about it on the podcast, this guy reads, there was this website called Gumtree, right?
Yep.
And they would do, the people could go in there. It was kind of like an Airbnb Craigslist type deal. And Christopher Parkinson or whoever decided to make a post that, if you wanted to stay in a house, you'd have to dress up like a walrus for 2 hours, right? And be the walrus and all
make
this.
walrus noises.
Yeah, that you could find on the internet. And it just kept cracking me up. I was like, I wonder if Justin Long like did that to get into walrus phase.
Mm-hmm.
So then they kind of they ride it out where they're like, how insane is this? Because they're poking fun at, if a lodger, and that's how he kept describing whoever would take the position would be a lodger, right? And how insane would you have to be to read this and then go through with it? And also, like, what dark alley could we go down with this, right?
Yeah, what's the most extreme version of this already silly premise?
Yeah, and the kind of the arc of the whole thing is that at the end of it, you become the walrus, and you're gonna be battle tested and cemented, and at the end of the day, it's not necessarily getting back to your former self. It's like, do I embrace the savagery of this animal, or
like what the idea that you are so physically and psychologically tormented that you break and basically believe you have become this creature.
Yes. And the way that they're kind of talking about it, describing it, like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was funny as shit hearing like them talk about it. And
it's
premise,
really funny,
right? And
it's funny to hear as a comedy riff, or like as a riff of extremes, like just taking things to absurd levels.
And I think what ended up happening with this is, one, some of those ideas or visions didn't make it on the camera, and then two, you're a little lost with what they're trying to go for. Like, I have,
because it feels like there's some like weird sense of like attempted sympathy, at least later on, with the conversation between him and the girlfriend, where she's like, I miss the old Wallace. He used to be nice and nerdy and sensitive and blah, blah, blah. And like this idea that like money and wealth can like corrupt someone and they just turn into like a monster, but then do they have to turn into a monster to like regain some semblance of humanity? And it's like, okay, I recognize these as like things that you're maybe going for, but it's so simplified that you just hammer it home like all the time throughout the runtime of this movie that it loses its impact.
Yes. Yeah, and that's why I thought the whole the picture they painted for Justin Long, I think, just was too over the top.
Yeah, like this guy is like such a cartoonish caricature of an asshole guy.
Right.
Where, okay, so whatever. Like you are working a little too hard to make it so that we can get behind this guy being tormented.
Yeah.
Like I think Barbarian is a great juxtaposition, because him in that movie, it's like, yeah, he's an asshole, but like there's still some recognizable qualities of like a real human person. Like kind of, but like, I don't know, that movie is different in that like it is sprinkling the dark comedy, whereas this one, it feels like it's trying to hit you over the head with it at points. He's only in it
for the third act, like he's in it for a certain portion. That's where it helps out. You don't, like you said, sprinkling. It's not the main course.
Yeah,
right. Like, and that's where it's more tolerable, and it's a lot more. The lines are delivered a little bit.
And I think that's a good point. Whereas like a whole entire movie of that, gets grating.
Yeah.
Gets very grating.
Oh, it loses its steam.
Yeah.
And you just get to a point where it's like, this isn't even a real person.
No.
And like, hey, you want to make sure that once we get to this point, we see a little bit of this, what have I done type attitude, the humanity, like not becoming so much of a trope of yourself,
It almost, like listening to that podcast conversation and then seeing the final product of what this movie turned out to be, it feels like Kevin Smith, and I'm not going to pretend to know what was going on behind the intent of it, but it feels like it never really got past the surface level amusement of the idea. Like,
oh yeah,
what we could just do it. Like we could just make it, and we'll just have it be this way, and that'll be it. And like, I was watching, I'm remiss to say this, but I was watching the movie Anaconda on an airplane, the Jack Black, Paul Rudd movie. Spoiler alert, it's no good. It's dookie dog shit, and it's shitty. But there's something in that movie that the characters talk about when it comes to movie making, and they touch on the idea of themes. And they're like, oh, we could have so many themes in this, like generational trauma, like blah, 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 all this stuff. And the joke of that movie is that they're talking about it so flippantly when it's supposed to be like one of the forefront things of the movie that like you want to get across. Like you want people to come away with like some type of theme or message or like something a little extra so that people can like sit on it when they get home.
Yep. And
the way they talk about it in Anaconda almost feels like how Kevin Smith thought about it when making this movie. Like, yeah, we'll just kind of like broad generalize like whatever we can to like fit the premise instead of the premise adding to something that has been there all along. I think that's my biggest thing with it, is that like there's no feeling of like something to take away from the entirety of it. There's just like these little sprinklings of pieces and like feelings of attempts that he includes to like maybe zhuzh it up a bit.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I agree. And I think what ultimately was a 40-minute skit that could have been really well done in a short got pumped up to an hour and 40 minutes with filler. And, I think for me, what I see is, and I know that, you have conversations with Buddy all the time. Like me and my brother, when we were little, we used to do this thing we called it cheese court, and we would do skit, right? And we would say, oh, they're going to say this. And, and it's one of those things you're dying laughing talking about. You can see everything as you're, talking about it. But then when it gets onto camera, it doesn't have the same pulse, right?
No.
And I think that's what happened here, is that within this distilled little storyline that they had for 30 minutes that they just talk about, have like riffing on ideas, it came to fruition, and all of a sudden, like you're saying these things that could be really funny. Like they're talking about the walrus fight at the end, and like, it's a real, it's life and death. It's that, kind of like the becoming of the walrus, and they're just but they're attacking each other and making all the walrus noises that you find on the internet, and it sounds hilarious, right? And you're kind of just thinking about like, how insane would that be if you poke your head into a window and you saw someone transformed into a walrus fighting a man dressed as a walrus, neither of them using their hands, and just headbutting each other, making noises, right? That's really fucking funny. Then you put it on screen and you're watching it and you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, this is just dumb.
Kind of funny, like I guess, and then, hey, let's all add up all the shit that we have with Justin Long into the moment. So we're at a point now where it's like, okay, even if he lives, where do we go from here? Are we just going to embrace it? Like, has he transformed? Like, is there no semblance of him anymore? Is he now the wall? Like, that's the other problem I had too.
I am the walrus, cuckoo, cachoo.
Yeah.
Like, is that where we're at? One thing that we kind of brought up a little bit, but I would like to expand upon further, and this goes along with, what are the ideas or like the attempts that are being put into this movie. And I think when a lot of people think of this film, they think of like, oh, this is the same status as like Human Centipede or like, other body horror movies that I'm used to seeing. And this idea that it's like a dare movie, we're going to throw this on and see how much we can stomach. And I hate to say it, Mac, I feel like it also fails at that, at least for me, of being an effective piece of body horror. Because I'm going to lay it out on the table right now. I've seen the final design before. I feel like it's one of those things that I just came across on the internet one day, or like Reddit or like fucking Instagram. Someone pulls up like a picture of Justin Long in the full ass costume.
Yep.
So like I've seen it, but I was like, I'm curious how they are going to get there. I'm curious as to like the elongated process that he's going to have to go through, being tormented, like having his body sewn to itself so he can fit the proportions of a walrus. Like, how does he end up in this state? I'm very fascinated by that. And this movie kind of skips a few beats that I think would have made it a little bit more interesting and fun, at least for people who like to watch that sort of thing. Even if like it's the most surface level, like body horror, torture porn shit, at least I feel like it would have been something, like certain stepping stones that weren't hit on when getting to that point. You could have had that in this movie instead of like the stupid Johnny Depp moments or like the insane amount of flashbacks that we experience in this film to like pad out the runtime. Instead, it's like, oh, we're in like the grueling reality of what Justin Long's going through. Even if we don't like him as a character, we can certainly physically relate to someone going through this process and be like, oh, this is, I don't want to have that happen to me. And then I feel like it's just like, okay, his legs cut off, and then we see like a couple scenes, and then he's in the costume. Yeah. And that's it. And it's okay. I feel like there's something missing here that I would have at least felt fit the movie. I don't know.
I see that's where it gets into the intent, though. I think the intent is more of the dark comedy nature of it, but
how much harder would that dark comedy have hit if we did experience all that?
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it would, because it's one thing to make him an asshole and unsympathetic, so that way, like, as he's going through this stuff, we don't have any sort of bond or attachment to the character. It's another, like you're saying, if you do put yourself into that physical presence with it, you may feel it's deserving, but then you also get into it's mutilation, right? And that's where it teeters on like body. Like, that's what I'm saying. I don't think this is it's horror in the more in the mysteriousness of it, I would say, or
just like the strangeness, I guess.
Yeah,
is the strangeness the point? Because
yes, that's it. It's Justin Long, or not Justin Long, but it's Kevin Smith. Like, I think it's one of those ideas that just sound funny, but I don't think he was trying to go for like, hey, we're going to turn this into full-on hostile Saw territory where we're showing everything, right? Because I think that would definitely lose the comedy element. Like, if there was more stuff in here, I don't know if I'd be laughing as hard as I was, because then that to me would feel almost more self-indulgent, because that's why I had problems with the Eli Roth stuff, and it's like, all right, like if I'm watching this, or if someone's watching this, we know that we are watching it for that reason. I don't think that's what his heart was set out for when making this. Like, I think it was more so about the element of how funny would it be to turn into a walrus.
Let me respond to that using Terrifier as an example. You haven't seen the Terrifier movies, no. Right? Art the Clown. So those movies are not necessarily body horror, but just like gruesome, like grindhouse slasher movies, sort of the same vein. Mm-hmm. You're seeing people getting like mutilated and like tormented and tortured or whatever. That series of movies has a lot of like black comedy or dark comedy to it, because Art the Clown is such a little shit. Yeah, when it comes to like how he carries himself, and like he's kind of silently laughing along, like like, he'll point and like he'll do like visual gags while he's doing all this horrible shit. And I don't think those movies are great or anything. I think the highest I've given one is like a 6 out of 10. Mm-hmm. But part of what makes that franchise work for me, at least, is like how memorably funny the character is, and like just how that humor is effectively interwoven between like all this grisly, like, practical effect shit going on. And I feel like this movie could have maybe struck a balance with that a little bit, obviously implemented in a different way. Fucking Howard Howe's not a horror icon in the same way. Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like there could have been something that either would have like upped this as like this is going to like cement its status as like a Dare movie, or at the very least we get scenes instead of the Johnny Depp stuff.
Yeah, I'm not knocking you. They could have found 30 minutes to find something else. I will say that.
Literally almost anything else.
I'm not like I'm telling you, like, my first thought when this ended was like, what was his role? Like, what was his purpose? And it literally nothing. So I'm not knocking that. Once again too, this is more, I'm just assuming what Kevin Smith's going through, but like when you're talking about this, if the comedy isn't ingrained into this mutilation and this torture, because it's almost like torture porn with this guy, right? He set out to just create a walrus and have him become the walrus with some snippets, and it's more funny about him being a walrus than it is how he got to there. That's where I see it as like, that's what he was striving for, and not knocking. I mean, I think that they could easily found some other conversations, like how like Michael Parks in this thing almost feels underutilized.
100%. I think, and it's like some of the scenes that he is utilized in, it's like you're going for it 100%. It's making me not want to watch this movie anymore. That scene when it's just him and Johnny Depp, where he's like playing the dumb character, I was like, this is fucking awful. Like, this is some toxic ass shit that I'm watching that you would be remiss to find anybody who enjoys this scene.
Scat humor and like Johnny Depp just trying to keep up with like that's where I got
It
into
felt like a
he's,
product of like lull random edgy like pee pee poo poo humor.
that's what they just got. I think that's just they said, hey, how like this is where here's it's like a Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like you guys just go from here, and they both. He's like, I'm playing the simpleton. I'm going to talk like what I think a simpleton would do. And Johnny Depp's just trying to keep up.
And I think that's maybe part of why I brought up the idea of self-indulgence in Kevin Smith is because like it almost feels like he's behind the monitor, like snickering to himself, going like, I'm getting these two prestige, like high-class actors to say the dumbest shit imaginable. Like, look at me, haha, look at the power that I wield.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really get it. I guess I understand, and I could see him being in that, like, because like you hear a bunch of stuff about the guy, and he's been around doing a whole bunch of shit. I could see it. I mean, I'm not gonna say I can't. It just feels like half the script was written by him, and the other half was just him throwing in stuff and didn't care.
Yeah,
but you know,
I agree.
What kind of he did make a comment. He goes, "We could sell this to Blumhouse. We could." It's like we get $3 million, we could easily make this. Well, $3 million, this could make $30 million.
I think Blumhouse ended up dropping out.
I didn't see
what I
who.
read, because like I read that he was originally partnered with Jason Blum to make this movie, and then they bowed out for some reason. I can't remember why. Let me see if I can find it.
Be shocked. Well, I guess I'm not shocked because they probably read this thing and was like, dude, you got half a movie here.
So Smith wanted to make the movie quicker than what Blumhouse would have allowed for. So then that's why I guess Smith was the one who parted from that partnership.
He wanted to make it quicker.
He wanted the ability to make the movie faster than what Blumhouse, I guess, would have allowed or like put parameters on.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying too. Like it just all feels a little off. Everything feels a little off. Like he's like, I got this
1,000%.
It's a dark comedy, but we're gonna pitch it as a horror. You guys are gonna sign on. You're gonna get your whatever, and then they're probably like, hey, like let's make this more of a thrill ride. And he's like, no, let's not. Like this is gonna be zany. It's gonna be wacky humor. We're turning a guy into a walrus.
I found it funny that in the podcast, he's talking about like, oh, you could easily do this $3 million budget, make $30 million easily. Yeah. Movie ended up making $1.9 million. Quite ironic.
That was another thing too that I wanted. I was like,
speaking of irony, talking about Clerks.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was another thing too. I was like, oh man, I wonder. And then I saw the three. So I go to IMDb. The first thing you see is the budget. I see $3 million. I go, wow, you really got this for $3 million. What do you make? And then you see it's like, whoa. Oh, I guess he missed the mark with a lot of people. And it's a little bit of a dairy for a little bit more of a younger audience. I think for us kind of seeing it, it's a little startling, but it gets to a point where it's just kind of like odd.
Early A24 film. Was kind of almost forgot that their logo popped up. Also, I felt like this movie for the most part looked okay. Like
I polished and well shot.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't really love was the actual walrus costume itself. Like it felt like over time, over a very short amount of time watching this movie, it got a little cheap and just unbelievable.
Oh yeah, you could tell. I mean, like how else it.
Yeah, how else would you fucking do it for $3 million?
You know what I'm saying?
Like I appreciate the idea of the practicality.
Yeah,
but to just see it whole ass just plain on screen the entire time with like no idea of like, shooting around it or like, trying to make it a little more convincing. It's like, it's losing its effect quick.
Well, I think that's kind of the purpose too, is that you got this guy doing some body horse. Like you're not going to have
it's supposed to
look Carson back there making this walrus costume.
It's supposed to look a little silly.
Yeah. Like I for all intents and purposes, I think it was like, how do we keep this up with kind of realistic, kind of funny, silly type deal? And hey, like we've got a guy that has literally just been practicing this on other people, like it's not like a craft you can go and walk into the event center.
Yeah.
Say, hey, how do I help me out here?
Yeah. Help me out. I need this to look a little more moist.
Yeah.
And skin like.
Yeah. I didn't have the reason why I find it so creepy too is because of the eyes.
The eyes, for me, it was the. I mean, obviously the tusks themselves were alarming, but like the mouth.
Yes.
And whenever he screamed, it was just like the widest screaming mouth.
And you see his teeth. I mean, it's just like human. Like you can tell it's human.
Yeah. There's the video game Fallout, I think, does a great job of exemplifying these creatures that are like made of human parts but have like become their own thing. Like there's a creature in Fallout 3 called I think they're called centipedes, where they're human but they are
6 arms or whatever.
It's like 6 arms and like this torso that has like 3 heads coming at you.
Yeah.
Yep. And like it's one of the freakiest character designs I've ever seen.
Yes.
It's so effectively alarming. And like when you have stuff like that in this movie, it's like, okay, I appreciate the swing. I appreciate the attempts. I can see like, you know, a stretched face and like you can kind of tell there's an ear there or whatever, you know, very, very substance like. But after a bit of time, I'm just like, okay, this is a little too silly.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think you got 2 guys getting high talking about turning a guy into a walrus from a fucking Craigslist post. Like,
yeah,
you know, I don't know how much substance you're going to get. I think it's more so of an idea that sounds a lot funnier in practice than it does actually putting it into application.
Yes. Was there anything else we wanted to discuss with Kevin Smith's Tusk?
The end. What did you think about the? Did you get any humor out of the end?
I guess like not humor, but just like baffled at like why would they keep this guy alive? Like he clearly wants to die. Why wouldn't you just shoot him in the head?
We went 2 different routes.
I guess. Retrospectively, it was funny listening to the podcast conversation about how like, oh, they've got a newspaper and you don't know what's in it, and then they open it, it's a fucking fish, and they flop the fish in front of them. I thought it was a little funny how they like kind of shittily edited around him eating the fish.
Yeah.
How like it was just in front of him, it cuts away, cuts back, there's like a big chunk of it gone. He's not even like chewing.
The whole time he's eating, every time he had to eat was just poorly done.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. Like I recognize the idea of what they want to establish.
Yeah.
Like this guy has been so shitty his whole life that like now he gets to suffer and like watch his girl be with like his podcast co-host or whatever because he was such a shitty person. But like the idea of, oh, there's some humanity in there still because he deigned to cry or whatever. And it's like, by that point, I'm like, fucking, movie's going to be done, right? Like, now I get to wait for Mac to show up and we can talk about it. Like, that's where my headspace was at.
Dude, so it's getting to the, you know, we get to the end. 2 things. I mean, one, we get to the end, and they animal sanctuary for exotic animals, and it looks just like this like really crappy like park.
It's this shitty little fucking fenced in area. Looks ramshackled to hell.
I was dying laughing thinking about like, wow, they really had to find someone that would just take in this person that's been turned into a walrus, and then they show his enclosure. That had me. I was like, this is all like way too much. I was dying at that. And then when they're talking to him, like, it's okay, buddy. You can come out. Like, they're talking to him so demeaningly. Like, he's not a human anymore. Like, for some reason, he's now this animal. Like, you're talking to your dog, you know? And that was pretty, I thought all of it was great. I really got a kick out of this end. And then they have the fish and they're like, give him the gift. No, he doesn't want it. No, let's give it to him.
Yeah.
It's this freaking mackerel. They're like, hey, here you go. Just remember us, Wallace. And then they take off, and then they, you know, and what'd you say, retrospectively, like him talking about, hey, we'll play this really sad. And I never even thought about this, but they're like, in every horror film, they just play this really sad, like, piano song.
Just like, weirdly out of place melancholic music.
Yeah. That has nothing to do with the film. And then they did it. And that was pretty, I had a good laugh about that.
Well, they played the song Tusk from Fleetwood Mac.
So that was another thing, too. That was almost a third of the budget.
Damn.
Did you read that?
No.
Yeah, the rights to that song cost $275. Maybe not a third. Way above
a good hearty chunk. Maybe like
10%
of it.
K out of 3. Yeah, that is 10% of the budget went to getting that song. And one of the reasons we were so excited about this movie coming out was for some reason, I don't remember how, we got into the that score, right, or that song, and I think they play it at like USC. It's one of their walkout songs.
Okay.
Like it's for some reason it's kind of like a notorious song. I don't know why. Because if you ever listen to it, I love Tusk. I love that song. Nothing in there is like, oh, this has got some, this is gonna get you going. It is kind of like it builds up, but that was like one of the cool things. Of like, oh, it's gonna be in the film. It's like they got to play it at some point. Like when are we gonna hear it? And then the final build up to the fight scene. And I don't know. I don't know do you think if you had listened to the podcast before seeing it, that you would have had a little bit more of humor, appreciation, or just kind of like step back and be able to observe as opposed to like insert,
Yeah, I mean, maybe. And it's one of those things where listening to the podcast after the movie feels like one of those hindsight is 2020 things where like, oh, this is so fresh in my mind, and now I'm hearing what the version of this that they wanted it to be like play out, at least, between the two of them rudimentally. And I don't know, I guess maybe. Yeah. It's hard to say.
I'm in the same boat. I heard it. I mean, I had a score, and it's probably going to get knocked down after talking about it because, like, I can't do justice of trying to help this thing out where it's only got 50 minutes of substance in here.
Yeah. Shall we get into ratings? Speaking of ratings,
yeah.
Let's do it up. I think I go first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was fairly aware of this movie's reputation and presence in the film zeitgeist. I was didn't have like too high of expectations going into it, but unfortunately my expectations were just a little bit dragged after watching this. I think that there's something in here that could have been, for me, fun or interesting or engaging, but just a lot of the elements of this movie felt like they were working against anything I would have found of value or appreciated. I thought the performances were fine. I like Justin Long just generally. Yeah. I don't think I've watched him in anything that I haven't enjoyed him in. But I don't think he could elevate this to a level that is beyond just like me wanting this to be over when I'm watching it. So for me, this is a 2 out of 10.
Wow.
I think the ending, the Johnny Depp stuff, truly brought this from a 4 to a 2. Like,
oh yeah, that's
just absolutely annihilated any chance of this movie having some value to it for me.
Yeah.
That I could appreciate. I felt like a surface level premise that only met the surface.
Yeah.
So
very true.
Yeah.
Very true. I guess I don't knock that too much. Fun fact too. So there's a hockey player in here that's referenced as being kidnapped, Gregory Gumtree. Mm-hmm. And that is in reference, Gumtree being the website, Gregory being the original character that they were talking about on the podcast, what his name would have been.
Yeah.
So that's an ode to the pod. And apparently, like, a lot of these ideas that they had that became filler were also on other episodes that they kind of pulled and plugged.
Yeah.
Which is probably why it feels a little bit kind of like some Tapestry, right? A little bit of a Grandma's quilt action going on.
Yeah, there's some parts knitted together, much like the skin of a walrus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real quick, so this movie is the first in what Kevin Smith has dubbed the True North trilogy.
Yes.
So there was this movie that came out in 2014. In 2016, he came out with the film Yoga Hosers, which features the convenience store, the Canadian female convenience store characters, played by, let me get their names right, Lily Rose Depp and Harley Quinn Smith, Johnny Depp and Kevin Smith's daughters, respectively.
Yep.
So, I haven't heard real good things about that specific film.
You heard anything?
I mean, not particularly. That movie, I think, was even less successful than Tusk.
That's interesting too, because I thought I heard someone that had said it was kind of fun. I think they play like their zombies apocalypse going on type deal, and they take them out with hockey sticks. Way off.
It's a comedy horror by Kevin Smith. It's a spin-off of Tusk. Blah, 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 blah. Panned by critics. Oh, boy.
Anything in there about the movie itself? It's just people riffing on it.
Let me go to the IMDb for it. It'll give me a summary.
And so if you didn't know, the third one's Moose Jaws.
Okay.
In which it's a moose that is playing its Jaws.
Yeah. Which has yet to be made. It probably won't be.
No. I think it...
Is it in development? Is it?
I thought I saw it hit Sundance and it's getting a release in 2026.
Okay.
No, I'm not for certain. I was on IMDb and it's sometimes it doesn't treat you well.
Yoga Hosers.
We'll get there. Kyle's got this.
Yeah, I got.
He's more of a wiki guy than IMDb. That can be rough seas.
Yeah. So the summary for this: 2 teenage yoga enthusiasts must do battle with an evil presence that is threatening to rise from its underground lair and endanger their major party plans.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Sounds like he made it for his daughter.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, that was Tusk. Cool discussion.
Hold on. I gotta get my score. I haven't even done that.
Oh,
yet.
you haven't done your score.
No,
I'm sorry.
I haven't said shit about it.
I'm sorry.
We got into his trilogy feature.
I apologize.
Take
it away.
So premise somewhat funny. I had some chuckles in here, some laughs, like more so than what I thought. Well shot. I don't know if there's much of a score, but them playing Tusk in the final scene, the climax of the film, I thought really there was some good flavor to it. The acting. Now, Haley Joel Osment and the girlfriend, neither here nor there, hitting the notes that they had to hit for being the characters that they were. Like, didn't really give a shit. But Justin Long and Michael Parks, I thought, were carrying this film, and I wanted a lot more of that dynamic going on.
I like that. My favorite scene of this movie is when Long first shows up and they start having a back and forth.
Oh my! The doctor scene, Dr. Mosier. He'll be here. Mm-hmm. Your phone, he had to destroy it. He said no phones. He'll be back. Because he's making rounds. What fucking rounds were in the middle of nowhere? Well, silly goose, he has to make his rounds.
That's insane. Maybe, but he's got to do it.
Yeah. And then so anyways, there's elements in here, and I had this a little bit higher. I heard the podcast, so that's why I wanted to ask you about that, because I heard this podcast. I go, that cements even more of what I was laughing at, because I think I grabbed onto that. But at the end of the day, I was driving to work and I was kind of thinking about it this morning, and I was like, Johnny Depp steals 30 minutes of this thing and it's shit. There's half a movie in here. A lot of the other stuff I don't really care about. And the fact that they just dehumanize Justin Long as much as they possibly can to make him seem just like this narcissistic prick that really has no existence of being on this earth, right? Like, he has no value whatsoever to what he does or help in society. And I was like, it is a little over the top. So, I had this as a 7 out of 10, but I'm going to bump it down to a 6. And I think I got a little bit more out of it than you did.
I think so.
But, yeah, I'm not... Your points on it are spot on. Like, that's one of the things, too, where I think... I don't know if this thing will be polarizing enough to where I could walk up to someone and they will tell me that this is their favorite movie of all time. But I think everyone can resonate with what we've talked about as being some of the issues with it.
I've read that this has a cult status, and that if this is a movie that you enjoy, that we don't. I'm not going to yuck anyone's yums. I'm not going to tell you you're dumb for liking it. In fact, I think that there is something to be said about finding things in this movie to enjoy for many people, fans of horror or Justin Long or Kevin Smith, what have you.
It's the same reason probably like Fateful Findings,
Probably, you know what? Not a bad comparison. So I have a series of questions, and this is a question that I can ask. I feel like this is appropriate for at least one of the films we've talked about.
Okay.
So I'll throw this out there just to kind of give us something to chew on.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the torture porn genre of film? Do you think it has value as art, or is it simply just exploitative nonsense?
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So I will be transparent. I came up with this question. I have a few other questions, but I feel like
leading into what you're going to recommend.
No. I think it's your recommendation.
It is.
Yeah. So
shit. Well, came prepared.
But I just thought of this as like, oh, this could be like a fun talking point. And it feels especially appropriate after discussing Tusk.
Well, are we going to, like, is this like we both agree on this thing, or are you coming in here to butt heads?
No, I think I'm just genuinely curious about your thoughts on torture porn as a genre of film, how it exists and like its value. Like, do you perceive it as like having value? Is that something that you can enjoy or like get enjoyment out of, or is it just completely devoid of anything substantive in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's devoid of anything substantive. I think it, like you said, like when you say torture porn really serves no service outside of what being sort of a, what do they call that? God, I used it so much. Infinity pool. It is.
It's like the basic.
Hedonistic.
Yeah, the basics of like what you're desiring being met.
Yeah, I think it serves into some sort of like maybe I don't even want to say pleasure function, but like it feeds into some of these whims or these like ideas, or just being like, oh, I'm kind of curious as to how that be. And I don't, for me myself, like I don't get any sort of like, it's not fun. I don't know. I can respect some of the creativity around it. Like I think kind of like the Saw series, and one of the things that I've heard more people talk about that I do actually like get behind, when they talk about Saw, is like, how can we get more creative with these killings, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's not my cup of tea. I do understand that there is people that demand it, and that you do have to make it maybe in a sense fun, and I think there are people probably that I wouldn't guess at, like the Terrifier movies, right? And
yeah.
There's the practical effects. You can kind of get behind some of the things that are happening or going on. It's kind of, there's some curiosity behind it. Maybe not even necessarily that you're like, I want to see this person killed this way, but like curious as to how art's going to do it now, And in terms of the lens of being artistic, like there is creativity behind it. I give it a nod to that, but as serving a purpose, like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's also one of those things where it's a very subjective thing to talk about when it comes to, I mean, anything related to movies is pretty subjective, but this in particular feels like one of those things where I can just easily say, like you, not for me.
Yeah.
Not my thing. I'm not going to go out of my way to go watch Martyrs, because although I've heard that Martyrs has like a little bit more to offer than just like,
yes,
rough scenes to get through. And
like Antichrist, like
Antichrist,
there's
like
some that fall in the same realm. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the thing that I appreciate about the Terrifier movies is the practicality and the effects that go into the more torturous aspects of those movies. One thing that I bump up against with all of those films is the fact that it feels like every other element of them feels like it's sacrificed for the sake of the kills, and like focusing in on that as like, oh, this is the main selling point. Like, imagine how much better those movies would be if like they just focus the same amount of energy on the acting or the story or, just the cinematography.
Yeah.
Like any other part of that movie that could be elevated with the same amount of passion that goes into making those practical effects. And you've got like solid 7 or 8 out of 10 movies on your hands. But I feel like they're just so held back by that innate focus on just like the simplification, the idea that, and I think that's where like the term mostly stems from. You talk about Saw or like Hostel or whatever, and it's like the general point of these movies is to just like make the audience squirm or like put them in the headspace of like, oh God, I don't like what I'm seeing, but I can't look away. And it's like meeting those at such a surface level really does make the term torture porn feel appropriate to those types of films. And I think that anything that elevates beyond that, you could almost easily identify as something other than torture porn. Like you've got your horror movies or like your thrillers or psychological horror or whatever else you want to call it. And it's like, these are movies that have a lot more going on for them than just torture scenes. You can have movies with torture in it, but it's like, it's not going to be the main focus. And I think a big reason why not a lot of movies have a lot of that stuff in it is because it's asking a lot of the audience.
Yeah.
It's asking a lot of like the people watching it, and unless they are into that type of thing, most people aren't going to be.
Yeah.
And so like it's very easy to lose people being on board your film with an overindulgence of that, especially if they're not like necessarily expecting it, you know. That's why there's like a whole niche out there. That's why there's people who are into it, and there's like an expectation when they go into a Saw movie or a Terrifier. It's like, I'm getting what I want to see.
Yeah.
And so like in terms of artistic value, I think if you're that person looking for that, then yeah, it's going to have value for you. But for me personally, I want a little bit more, you know?
Yeah. So, and I don't know if I think Hostel went into it with that. I don't know if Hostel's any good or not.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't. No, me neither.
I'm not a big Eli Roth guy.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
I've watched one where they're on the island and get taken by the Aborigines. And,
Green Inferno?
Yep. Saw that.
I saw the trailer for that.
Yep.
And I was like, this could be interesting, but also looks like it might not be the most fun thing to throw on.
No, it wasn't. It's just, it's kind of, he's got his cup of tea. But like Saw, I think, Saw's like a good movie in and of itself. Like there's those elements. But the movies, I think Saw's still a good movie. I have no desire to rewatch it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe this is a hot take. I watched the first Saw movie for the first time like maybe a year and a half ago. Didn't really like it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. There was just a lot about it that like I didn't care for the way it was edited. It felt like
Yeah, I could see that.
it felt like such a headache of a movie, and like not even in terms of just like the gore or like the violence, just like, oh, this thing feels pretty slapdashed. But it's got some like fun things going on for it. I didn't completely hate it, but it's just like maybe I'll rewatch it because maybe I'll do like a Saw marathon one of these days. But like Mac just his spirit visibly left his body.
It'd be like people going like, we're gonna do a Scream marathon. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I enjoyed doing those stupid marathons, but I'm a sicko.
Yeah, but I need
I'm a
something
freak.
that's like Social Network.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need something that's got a little bit more substance if I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like, give me I don't know. Sam did it with like the Voorhees movies, Friday the 13th. Like he's gone on a tear.
Yeah, I did that last year in October. I got through 6 of them.
Oh.
And there's 10, I think. 10 or 11.
You know what I'm saying? Like at some point it's just like you're watching the same thing. Now it just, see, that's why it
got pretty tiring real quick.
You get it, like if you're not into how are we going to kill the next person, I don't know. I mean, unless you're really driving some abstract thinking around it and placing some theories about the universe. And
well, my struggle with the Friday the 13th movies was just like the slower pacing of them and just how repetitive they were.
Campy.
At least the thing with Saw, based on like the premise of it and what you've described, it's like, oh, they're getting like more elaborate with the traps, and there's like kind of an edginess to it, and
yeah,
it's
more polished.
It's like a music video quality almost.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's the momentum of that, I think, is what would help carry me through those movies. Now, I have yet to see all of them, so maybe I'll be wrong.
Man.
Yeah. I'm going to have buzz saws for teeth.
Have you ever seen the YouTube clips of him getting Jigsaw as a roommate?
No.
All right. Well, when if you get a chance, they're like, a minute.
Okay.
They're pretty good.
Okay. I'll check them out. Jigsaw's roommate?
Yeah, Jigsaw as a roommate.
Yeah. So is that like a Funny or Die, like college humor thing?
Kind of, yeah. It's like Jigsaw if Jigsaw was a roommate, but it's not life or death. But
it's probably just like, oh, to get your toothpaste, you have to peel your fingernails off.
Yeah, shit like that.
Yeah.
That
sounds like fun.
It is. It's very humorous.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
One more bit of business.
Oh, is that the only question you had?
Yeah, I figured that was the only one I would ask because I want to save the other one. Do you want me to give you one more?
Yeah, we got one more.
One more? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me pick through what I've got. Okay, this will be a good one. Where do you get your news / information from about movies?
Oh,
Mac was very quick to jump the gun of like, what fucking question is this?
What are we
Bullshit.
going?
Where do I get my news?
Xfinity?
I only get it from Truth Social,
yeah, baby. No, I go Facebook a lot is pretty much Facebook, I would say. So like I wouldn't say news, because I don't ever click in the links. It's more so of like just awareness.
Yeah.
For me, like.
See, I feel like, at least for me, Facebook could be dangerous because there's so many
dangerous.
Well, there's so many like bullshit things
What
you could come across on
like
Facebook.
A stranger with candy?
Yeah, exactly. They're luring me into their profile. No, I feel like there's a lot of pitfalls you could go with Facebook, especially with like the prevalence of like AI and like just like misinformation being such a thing to look out for.
Well, I use it as a starting point.
Yeah, not that I like doubt your ability to discern that type of thing.
Jesus Christ, I'm getting called left and right.
I'm not trying to call you. I'm pointing it out.
No. So this is my process.
Yes.
Okay, we'll scroll through Facebook. Let's say we see something like Rob Reiner. I'm like, what is this? This doesn't seem real at all. Now that's where you have to go and fact check it. Let's go and check out, and I hate to say it, but Google it, and then you look at the sources in there to see if, or you go to IMDb, or you look around. Like I am not a guy that reads a headline and takes it most of the time as truth, unless like I see it, I'll pin it. And then if you bring it up or talk about it, I'm mostly like, yeah, I just saw like an article headline on this. I try to stay away from like, oh, I read this, 8-word sentence and that I hold to be true. So like Facebook is like the starting point. And then if anything catches my interest, that's when I start to go a little bit more into the digging. But it's really just going onto the internet, Googling it, and then seeing like who else has said anything about this, and at that point it's kind of easy. Unless there's a smear campaign or something going on where a lot more people. But at that point too, like you're looking at the source and you're like, this is like a third party website that just got put up here to have this article on there, so like there's a little bit more that goes into it, and I don't like search it out, but it's more so if it piques my curiosity.
Yeah, like Facebook almost acts like the catalyst to something that could pique your interest more, and then you'd look more into it. It's like, okay, I'm like whittling down the confirmation of this thing.
And I try not to go through articles on Facebook.
Right. Because, oh boy.
Yeah.
So for me, I used to go on IGN a lot.
Oh,
I had the IGN
yeah.
app. I would go through and...
they have an app?
Yeah, I think they still do. I haven't used it in a long time, mostly because like IGN mostly focuses on just entertainment in general. So like video games, television, movies, music, whatever.
My taste.
Yeah, but I don't know why I stopped using it. I guess because I got sick of their reviews and like just they would pop up. I'd scroll through and be like,
Tusk 7 out of 10. Fuck that.
It's exactly. It would be just shit like that where I'm like, okay, you're just doing this for engagement. Like, there's something so kind of like surface level scummy about this that I just don't want any part of it. Same with Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes, yeah, I just stay away from that altogether, or try to at least. But Reddit is probably my primary source of like the things that I see. Sort of a similar thing to Facebook. I'll see it on like the front page or whatever, and depending on the subreddit and where the source of the story is from, I will, decide whether or not it's something to look into to like figure out, okay, is this going to be accurate or not? Because like it'll tell me like, oh, it came from USA Today or it came from screenrant.com. Like websites were like, okay, I have no reason not to like believe this shit.
Yeah, they haven't tricked me yet.
No, right? They haven't bamboozled me. But if it's from something like Dextero or like some other shady fucking entertainment website where I'm like, okay, like they're reporting that they're going to make a sequel to this movie, but I'm not seeing it anywhere else.
You want to know?
I'm calling bullshit.
The first time I got tricked.
Tell me.
There's a series on Netflix called Mindhunters.
Yes.
Fincher.
Yep.
Season 2 comes out, right? I think it was a year later. And I'm kind of like, man, like Took a while for season 2 to get made. Still got the itch when season 3 coming out. So you start going through, and then Facebook all of a sudden pops up, Fincher signs on for season 3. And then you click into the link. And then you're like, oh, wow, he's really doing it. And then you're reading everything and it's like, no. Nothing in here says this is set. This is all like, sounds like it's in talks. But you told me it's coming out. So now I have high expectations and I'm really slowly being let down with every fucking paragraph I'm reading. Mm-hmm. And that is literally deflating. Right. And I got through the end of that article and was so pissed at the person that wrote that thing, thinking like, with gotcha journalism, right? Mm-hmm. That's when I said, anything I read now, I am fucking cross-checking before I get my hopes up.
Yeah.
And then after that too, because I can still remember kind of like some of the taglines or the way it looked, I was like, anything that looks like this, like, you can't fucking trust it. Stay away.
Dude, I kind of miss the era before AI became so prevalent online of people on like either Facebook or like other like bumfuck websites or whatever, just like blatantly lying about sequels coming out or like movies being greenlit. And it's like, it was especially prevalent for the Fast and Furious franchise because like those movies would come out, like you'd get Fast 9 and then immediately like a week later, like someone posted the trailer for Fast 10. It leaked online. Click this link or whatever.
Yes.
And it's like, there's such a quaintness to how clearly bullshit this is that you just, I feel like are losing now with AI and like, just like, oh, now we can like generate this like accurate looking image of Vin Diesel in space for like Fast 11 or whatever the fuck. And it's like, nah, man, I missed like the shitty like recolorings and like the photoshops and like the dumb little fake trailers that people would make of other movies to try and say like, oh, this is Dune Part 3 coming out, even though it's like Timothée Chalamet from like Beautiful Boy or whatever the fuck. Like, just shit like that where it's like, oh, we're not gonna get this anymore as much. Like, this is a lost art form of like bullfuckery.
It's lost art. People trying to trick me. You know what it is? It's really just at that. If we went back 10 years and I brought we would be talking passionately about these fucking assholes that are doing this to us. And we click the link. Now it's spam. Then it's wrong. And like, we were just as passionate. Now it's just taking the chicanery's gone up another level. And you're looking back, it's like, yeah, I'd go back to that time. But in all honesty, like, we don't want any of it, But yeah, there was a little bit of you had to put in some work to fool someone, right?
I will say, for me personally, yes, I would not want any of that. But to see the amount of people who got tricked by that stuff, like in the comments, be like, oh, I can't wait. Wait a minute. I thought they weren't doing that, huh? Yeah. I can't wait to tell my mom. Like, just shit like that, where it's like, okay, this is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, there's something about this that tickles me.
And if you want to cut Facebook, just fucking cut it right out.
Yeah.
I wonder how much the world would change if it got axed. Like, someone just walked in and pulled that giant ass 3 foot by 3 foot cord into the server.
All the boomers would have a heart attack. They wouldn't know who to post their hateful comments to now.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it like, what if you like what percentage of social media, like what apps would you have to get rid of? Would it be like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter?
For like total social collapse?
Yeah. Just like say like media's out. Like,
probably those three.
Like, we're going back to reading a newspaper and you have to Google fucking Detroit news.
I think YouTube. If you got rid of YouTube,
that would be
I think that would be like a huge fucking deal. Like, YouTube's down for 2 weeks. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
There, like, so many children wouldn't be able to watch their videos the same way. I can't get Mr. Beast now.
No, but I'm saying it's more not like necessarily for entertainment, because like you could use YouTube for entertainment. I'm saying like the connection.
Yeah, sure.
Like it's like if I gotta trick someone, I'm going onto Facebook and then I'm seeing how many clicks I could get.
I feel like that is a net positive for the world.
Yeah.
If that stuff just was completely Thanos'd out of existence.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then what happens? So we go back to newspapers. Like, what do you do?
I don't know.
That'd be a great social experiment.
Yeah. The great social experiment of deleting every social media platform.
Yeah. Oh, I'm saying like let's get people not on an island, but like do like the Truman Show. You know, like create this fake community.
Speaking of Mr. Beast, this sounds like a Mr. Beast video.
Copyright. I learned that from the Smodcast. Just yell copyright and you're good.
There we go. Copyright.
Right. But
copyright the Truman Show concept, a film that is copyrighted.
Yeah, but they did it like they're filming something like we're doing like, hey, like we're taking we're gonna bring 200 people onto this island, whole community, right? We're living in the now. Let's just see what happens if we took social media away. Like you still have access, like YouTube's up. You just use it for entertainment. Like, you know, like you can go in there if you wanted to listen to a podcast or something, I guess. Like that's not a big deal.
If you want to listen to something like, I don't know, the Neon Crew podcast.
Right.
That's their prerogative.
You know what I'm saying? But where are you getting your news from? Like, how are you communicating with people? Like, do cell phone numbers come back? Like, is texting still as prevalent? Like, that's what is, I'm curious as to how much.
I feel like cable companies would like hone in on that vulnerability and like really try to like exploit that to the best of their ability.
How though? Like what? That's
I don't know.
What I'm saying.
Like
that's part of the social experiment. Now we get to see we get like some conglomerate. Like we bring on like two smart business guys too. And it's like we bring them in there and then we just say, hey, like do what you have to do. And then we find out who the piece of shit is. And he's like, well, I'm going to buy the news press and I'm going to buy the radio show. And then all of a sudden they're just all working together. And then the other business guy is like trying to do good. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be interested. Like that would be. I'm just curious how the world, how would it function? Like, I like how you said Thanos it out.
How about we just delete Mark Zuckerberg?
No,
Delete the Zuckster.
No, he hangs around, but now we got to figure out like what else he could do.
He can smoke meats.
Oh my God, he does it turns into like you get rid of Facebook, right? And then it turns into like the black market, and he's like doing like selling social media like. Behind in alleyways.
Hey man, stuff. I got a messaging app on the side right here.
You want to get connected to 20 people? That's gonna be $30.
Yeah, that's why there's the price goes up the more people you want to connect to.
Yeah, I couldn't sell drugs that fast.
People are so addicted to social media that there's this idea that like you can just back alley illegally sell the idea of interacting with other human beings online.
Yeah, but then it's like you find out who the good ones are versus the bad ones, like because like you get a bunch of people and they're like, hey, this is nothing but bots. You owe me $50.
Yeah. It's nothing but bots. That's good. That's going into the Neon Crew production company.
Yes.
Under the many movies that we need to realize.
Which we'll talk offline about it. I got an idea about we should have a recurring segment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that was totally, that's non-tangential, but it rings a memory.
Cool. Do you want to recommend a movie?
Yeah, I do. Okay. We're just going to go with this. It's the last one I added. I've never seen it. Kind of interested in it. This is a 2002 movie starring a guy that's a dude, Kurt Russell.
Hell yeah.
Okay. And he plays, I don't know, a cop or detective teaching another cop or detective. Do you have a guess?
Is this other cop or detective someone notable?
No.
Interesting. So they're kind of a jobber.
Yeah, he's an underworld. This guy, he had a face in the early 2000s where you thought he was going to take off, but I think he couldn't act. So now he's like in all these TV stuffs and sitcoms and things. Like I saw him. He was in this show Jasmine's watching. It's called Running Point. This new Kate Hudson thing on Netflix.
Interesting.
And I'm like, hey, that guy was in Underworld. And then I look up. I'm like, yeah, he is kind of a jobber. He was thrust into some like big produced movies. This is one of them.
Yeah. Okay. So is he like a similar age? He's not a similar age to Kurt Russell. He's probably younger, right?
Kurt Russell has an age, so.
Yeah.
But he might be the similar age now because Kurt Russell's going to forever be like 63.
Right. That golden age where he gets to keep his hair and his majestic beard.
20 years later, he looks the exact same. Like this movie popped up. I saw a still frame of him and I go, he looks the exact same as he did in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was 15 years later.
Do you know the director of this film?
Let's find out.
Okay.
Do you think that's going to help you?
Maybe.
No one knows.
If not, I'll just tell you to.
Ron Shelton.
That's wow. Oh boy.
There might be a reason for that.
What's the genre of this movie? It's like an action. Like you said, he's
Cop
like a
drama.
cop or cop drama, like a buddy cop movie, maybe.
I don't know if cop drama is really buddy cop ones.
Okay,
Period drama.
but he's got a partner.
Crime drama, thriller.
I don't think I'm gonna get this.
No, you definitely aren't. But
No.
it's funny to just say, hey, Brendan Gleeson's in this thing.
Okay, he's not the other guy.
No.
He's the villain, I presume?
I have no idea. Let me know when you're good, and I'll give you the reasoning on it.
Yeah, you could just tell me.
Okay, Dark Blue.
I've never heard of that fucking thing.
So this used to pop up on like TNT commercials all the time for like the trailer, and I remember being like we talked about Training Day on here before, right?
Scott Speedman.
That's the guy.
We have not officially discussed Training Day.
We haven't.
No. Did we pair it?
I think we might want to.
You don't want to talk about this in conjunction with Michael?
I think we might Training Day. Wow, that's gonna be nice on the.
I'm turning that bitch down. Okay, so Dark Blue and Training Day, sort of a double feature recommendation thing.
Yeah, I will tell you that every once in a while I try to find a movie when I was too young to watch it that really stuck in my head. Like Broken Arrow's another one of like.
You know who directed the Michael movie? Anton Fuqua, same director as Training Day.
I don't want to. I'm not spending money on Michael.
I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm sorry. There are movies, Mooncrest or whatever the fuck it was called. Sure. No idea what I'm walking into. I am not walking into a biopic about Michael Jackson and talking shit about this thing.
You know what? That's fair.
We might be talking shit about Dark Blue. I don't know. Look at
maybe.
it. What do you think? Scott Speedman's in it.
I think Kurt Russell is handsome as fuck.
Yeah.
And
He's got that fucking sandy golden blonde hair just trimmed out. And he might be a dirty cop in this thing. We don't know.
He's got a leather jacket.
Yes. I think he's a detective teaching another detective, and they both wear leather jackets.
I love it.
That's what I'm saying. It's totally 2002. You know, one of the things we're like talking about movies with other people too, there's like no appreciation for like, hey, get in the mindset of the time. Like everything's got to be polished. It's got to be well edited, good score. Like, let's go back to like Ron Shelton giving it a shot.
Let's go back to movies just fucking doing it, man.
Like, give me the leather jackets. Give me Kurt Russell being like a PG-13 dirty cop, you know?
All right. Cool. So Dark Blue along with Training Day.
Are you good with that?
I think I'm good with that.
It keeps me out of seeing theater. Oh, I get this. Yeah, because we're on baby watch too. I got 10 days.
I will let you know right now, I'm probably going to be seeing Michael by the time we record next, so I can offer my thoughts on it.
Oh my God. You really want to talk shit about this film?
Not that I want to talk shit. I'm just curious. I'm curious.
About what? It's sucking, just like you walk in, you know Anaconda's going to be bad.
I want to peek my head in.
And then you're like, well, let's watch it knowing it's going to be bad, and then it's bad.
Hey, listen. Does the kid getting ice cream concern himself with how unhealthy it is for his already poor-ass diet? No. He just wants an ice cream.
Yeah.
It might be a shitty ice cream.
It's going to be...
Might be a piss cream.
3 certainties in life. Death, taxes, and Michael sucking.
All right. Well, with that... If you guys don't want to be spoiled for Mac's recommendation of Dark Blue and tangentially Training Day.
Yeah, it could get flipped. We'll see. There could always be a chance that if I find time in the day.
There could always be a chance that we only talk about the movie Michael, directed by Antoine Fuqua. Be sure to check out those 2 films at the very least before episode 120. McLean, how do we...
Yeah, you stole it. WWTHD.
Boy, everybody,
You know, on the internet.
Yeah. You know, okay, I will say this.
Yeah.
I have never been more embarrassed to have a podcast than watching Tusk. because watching that scene where Justin Long is talking about what a podcast is,
oh yeah,
just made me want to like put my head in the oven.
Yeah, but that was at the time. That was during the time.
Yeah,
that was during the time. But there was definitely
but
like
now they're so much better.
Well, but it's like at that point it's getting started.
Yeah,
so that's why it sounds ridiculous. Yeah. Everyone knows them now.
Yeah. It's like, so it's part of people's daily routines.
Yeah, but at that time it was like you're kicking off, trying to get started with something. So
fuck, dude.
He sounded like an idiot, and I was listening to him, and I go, if it kept up that way, I would say I would be like, oh wow, yeah, that doesn't sound great.
100,000 every year from ads. Man. If we were 10 years older, man, let me tell you.
Oh, God. Well, no, I don't think there's any chance we would have gotten into it sooner.
Yeah, probably not. Probably wouldn't have met you if it was 10 years later.
No, probably not. I don't think I'd be at Sam's. Well,
I wouldn't be swimming in quarters from your sneezes, let me tell you. The Neon Crew podcast is hosted by Kyle Yates and McLean Parker. Kyle, who is myself, also helps to produce, edit, and upload every episode. Our music was composed by Gideon Hunter. Our artwork was created by Lauren Hunter. Thank you so much for listening to our show. Episodes get scheduled to release every 2 weeks. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on various social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube community page for updates and information on upcoming episodes. Want to join the Neon Mafia? Head over to our shop page at etsy.com/shop/the Neon Crew podcast for some quality, comfortable merch.